And we're live, guys. Welcome back. I'm not going anywhere. Your boy's consistent, and it is time to get back into the Word of God. We left off on Exodus chapter 16, and it's been such a cool time. The reason I'm a little bit delayed joining is we were so close to being live on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, but TikTok and Facebook, they decided to give problems to your boy. Couldn't figure it out, so I decided, you know what? Let me go ahead and get into the word. That's more important anyway. I'll get to that tomorrow. But for those of you who haven't been joining yet, we've been having a great time. We are now in Exodus, and I want to remind you guys about what we're really looking for in this chapter. So, the biggest thing that we have been covering, let me go ahead and pull up my notes, is that Moses was someone who needed a lot of transition, okay? He started off as someone that realistically, he was a bit of a coward. He had this really interesting duality to him where sometimes he was absolutely terrible. He was able to kill like this random Egyptian, but then at other times he ran, he hid, he did a bunch of things. So it's interesting to look at Moses through the eyes of a 20-something. Is that my boy Darius in chat? Is that my boy D here in the flesh? Oh my gosh. This right here is someone that's part of the reason I'm still a faithful Christian. So yeah, it's really cool to see you, bro. I hope you're doing well. Sheesh, you're old now, man. You're ancient. Are you even cool anymore, bro? Are you one of those like lame older Christians? I hope not. I hope you're still crazy and all of that. But anyway, why this is relevant to 20 somethings? Well, if you're anything like me, it's actually really difficult to. Bro, I gotta keep it real. You think about that. Don't get boring on me. Please don't do that. But the reason this is important to us Christians, especially as 20 somethings, is just breaking away from the expectations. Because not only did the Egyptians have the expectation of the Israelites that they were less than and essentially they were just slaves to them, but even from the Israelites, he had a lot of issues getting them on board. And it's like, how do we as 20 something break free of what society expects for us and just learn to walk our own path, to do the things we've been told to do? Moses consistently did the thing that God asked of him, but yet he had so many moments when he had inner turmoil just because of the environment around him. So we're going to be diving into that. We're going to pick back up in chapter 16. And I really hope that this is helpful for someone out there. So let's keep that in mind as we continue to grow throughout scripture, all right? So diving right back into the word, we're going to start in chapter 16 titled Manna and Quail. It says, the whole Israelite community set out from Elim and came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elam and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after they had come out of Egypt. In the desert, the whole community grumbled against Moses. What did I say? Like, the community that he just saved is giving him flack. Imagine being the savior of your people and the only thing they do is complain. Imagine doing everything you're supposed to do and you get no love at home. It's challenging, and I know a lot of people who are going through that as we speak. So the Israelites are complaining against Moses and Aaron. The Israelites said to them, if only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt. They were sat around pots of meat and ate all the food they wanted. Can you imagine that? Can y'all imagine having all the food you wanted? Listen, like literally last week, there was 4 days I did not eat. No food, nothing, dead broke. Out here mad struggling. These folks had all the food they wanted. And yet they are grumbling. They are saying it was better to be dead as they ate their fill. It's really interesting to see the type of people God's like, I have a plan for you. Because that's what he did. He actually did have a plan for them. They sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted in Egypt. But you have brought us out into the desert to starve this entire assembly to death. They're not talking about the fact that they were slaves, that they were whipped, that they were oppressed, the fact that every night they were praying to God to be saved. They don't remember any of that. They only remember their grudge against Moses and Aaron. Then the Lord said to Moses, I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way, I will test them to see whether they will follow my instructions. On the sixth day, they are to prepare what they bring in, and that is to be twice as much as they gather on the other days. So Moses and Aaron said to all the Israelites, in the evening you will know that it's the Lord who brought you out of Egypt, and in the morning you will see the glory of the Lord, because he heard your grumbling against him. Who are we that you should grumble against us, Moses said. You will know that it was the Lord when he gives you meat to eat in the evening and all the bread you want in the morning, because he has heard you grumbling against him. Crazy. Who are we? You are not grumbling against us, but against the Lord. Then Moses told Aaron, say to the entire Israelite community, come before the Lord, for he has heard your grumbling. While Aaron was speaking to the whole Israelite community, they looked toward the desert, and there was the glory of the Lord appearing in a cloud. The Lord said to Moses, I have heard the grumbling of the Israelites. Tell them at twilight you will eat meat, and in the morning you will be filled with bread. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God. Crazy. Even at our worst, we all see that the Israelites are in a really interesting spot right now. But even when we're at our worst, guys, God is still providing a way. I'm standing here and I'm more faithful than ever that God provides in the crazy times. Somehow, some way, I'm doing okay in Brazil. That's despite the changes in my checks. That's despite the changes in my life, the hardships, the struggle after struggle. I'm still good. So, I know what it's like for God to come through even in our worst moments. And I'm telling you, it is nothing like actually believing that. But the Israelites need their faith reinstilled. I mean, honestly, they've been slaves for so long. I'm not even really that mad at them. I mean, dude, your spirit gets broken, and it is very hard to come back from that. Once you are tainted, once you feel of hate and feeling like you're less than, to come to this place of things are okay, that's not an overnight process. In verse 13, it picks up and said that evening well came and covered the camp, and in the morning there was a layer of dew around the camp. When the dew was gone, thin flakes like frost on the ground appeared on the desert floor. When the Israelites saw it, they said to each other, what is it? For they did not know what it was. Moses said to him, it is the bread the Lord has given you to eat. This is what the Lord commanded. Each one of you is to gather as much as he needs. Take an omer for each person you have in your tent. The Israelites did as they were told. Some gathered much, some gathered little. And when they measured it by the omer, he who gathered much did not have too much, and he who gathered little did not have too little. Each one gathered as much as he needed. Each one gathered as much as he needed. That is just a crazy picture. The idea that we could have as much as we need. Oh my goodness. God is so good. Verse 20, it says, however, some of them paid no attention to Moses. They kept part of it until the morning. Track. But it was full of maggots and began to smell. So Moses was angry with them. Each morning, everyone gathered as much as they needed, and when the sun grew hot, it melted away. On the sixth day, they gathered twice as much, 2 omers for each person. And the leaders of the community came and reported this to Moses. He said to them, this is what the Lord commanded. Tomorrow is to be a day of rest, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. I'm telling you right now, today, to my 20-something, the Sabbath, by far, I've been a Christian, not for a long time, but since 2018, guys. 2018 is 2024, 6 years of watching the church. The Sabbath, by far, is one of the most broken things I've ever seen in the church. People do not know how to rest, and it's for a lot of different reasons. I see people where their job just forces them to work all the time. I see people who think that if they work a little harder, they're going to get more blessings. People do not actually take the gift of the Sabbath anymore. And it's honestly quite sad. And if you look around and you see tired faces, even me, I'm getting a little bit drained, but I'm going to make sure I chill over the weekend, okay? People by far continue to not take the Sabbath, and it is taking an effect I beg you, if you are watching the replay of this, I beg you, if you're on the YouTube, if you're on the Instagram, or wherever you're taking this in, Twitch, that you actually take some time to rest on the seventh day. I promise you, everything is going to be fine. I'm actually not telling you to be lazy. Notice here that it said on the sixth day, they gathered twice as much. Double down on the day right before you get off of work. Work even harder so you can enjoy a day of just rest. I think that's really important for 20 somethings because there's so many bills to be paid, so many things to be done. I'm struggling with that right now. Like, if I take the day off, I may not eat. Like, literally, I may not eat. But I just need to be faithful that whenever the sixth day is, I'll just ask for double, and hopefully God just comes through in the way He always does. But we must take that Sabbath if we want true rest. I'm gonna pick back up. It says, dun, 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 dun. On the sixth day, they gathered twice as much. And he said to them, this is what the Lord commanded. Tomorrow is to be a day of rest, a holy Sabbath day to the Lord. So bake what you want to bake and boil what you want to boil. Save whatever is left and keep it until the morning. So they saved it until the morning, as Moses commanded. It did not stink, and maggots did not get in it. Eat it today, Moses said, because today is a Sabbath to the Lord. You will not find any of it on the ground today. 6 days you are to gather it, but on the seventh day, the Sabbath day, there will not be any. The seventh day was not meant for work. It's not even blessed for work. In fact, you are probably going to do more damage working yourself on that seventh day. Find a way to chill, guys. Find a way to relax. I beg you. It goes on. So they saved it into the morning as Moses commanded. Anyway, in verse 27, nevertheless, some people went out on the seventh day and gathered, but they found none. Then the Lord said to Moses, how long will you refuse to keep my command and my instructions? Bear in mind that the Lord has given you the Sabbath. That is why the sixth day He gave you bread for 2 days. Everyone is to stay where he is on the seventh day. No one is to go out. So the people rested on the seventh day. The people of Israel called the bread manna. It was like white coriander seed and tasted like wafers made with honey. Moses said, this is what the Lord has commanded. Take an omer of manna and keep it for the generations to come, so they can see the bread I gave you and eat in the desert when I brought you out of Egypt. So Moses said to Aaron, take a jar and put an omer of manna in it. Then place it before the Lord to be kept for the generations to come. As the Lord commanded Moses, Aaron put manna in front of the testimony that it might be kept. And the Israelites ate manna for 40 years, y'all. For 40 years, they ate manna until they came to the land that was settled. They ate manna until they reached the border of Canaan. An omer is 1/10 of an ephah. None of that means anything to us, but it's a good amount of bread. That's all y'all really need to worry about. In chapter 17, we finally get to the story about the water on the rock. I want y'all to again pay attention specifically to the struggle of Moses. He is not a perfect man. He's a man who struggles, okay? So let's pay specific attention to what he's going through. You too, guys, all right? I see y'all on Twitch. I know y'all there. So yes, let's pay specific attention to the struggle of Moses. The whole Israelite community set out from the desert of Sin, traveling from place to place as the Lord commanded. They camped at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. So they quarreled with Moses and said, give us water to drink. Moses replied, why do you quarrel with me? Why do you put the Lord to the test? But the people were thirsty for water there, and they grumbled against Moses. They said, why did you bring us out of Egypt just to make us and our children and livestock die of thirst? Then Moses cried out to the Lord, what am I to do with these people? They are almost ready to stone me. The Lord answered Moses, walk ahead of the people, take some of the elders of Israel, and take your hand and staff on which you struck them out, and go. I will stand there before you by the rock of Horeb. Strike the rock, and the water will come out, and the people will drink. So Moses did this in the sight of the elders of Israel. And he called the place Massah in Meribah, because the Israelites quarreled, because they tested the Lord, and said, is the Lord among us or not? Maybe I'm thinking of a different story. I guess I got that wrong. We'll come back to that. Coming soon. Moses is going to have his moment. The Amalekites came and attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. Moses said to Joshua, "Choose some of our men and go out and fight the Amalekites. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff and God with the staff God I had hands." So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered, and Moses and Aaron went to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning. But whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. When Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone. It's the importance of having a crew with you. When Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held his hands up, one on one side, one on another, so that his hands remained steady until sunset. This is beautiful. So Joshua overcame the Amalekite army with the sword. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Write this on a scroll as something to be remembered, and make sure Joshua hears it, because I will completely blot out the memory of Amalek from under the heavens." Moses built an altar and called it, "The Lord is my banner." He said, "For hands were lifted up on the throne of the Lord. The Lord will be at war against the Amalekites from generation to generation." Why is this important to 20-somethings? Listen, guys, there's two pieces here. As long as Moses kept his hands up, the army was winning. I want you to just think about that. Think about that one thing that you need to be consistent with. God has told you, just get this thing right. Just keep at it. And if you were to just keep at it, think about the blessings that could come if you were to actually succeed. Think about if you were to stop losing to that thing. And it's such an interesting concept. But even more important than that, what I really love about the story is, yes, Moses is awesome for keeping his hands up, but I think the real takeaway for 20-somethings is actually in Aaron and Hur. The real takeaway is in Aaron and Hur. As long as they were there, they were able to support Moses in a way where he would have quit before the battle was won. Having them there, they was able to put the stone under him so he could sit. They were able to hold up his hands so that it would not lower. He could not lose with his boys on his side because they would not allow it. They pulled him to press on. They made sure that he pressed on. And I don't think a lot of us 20-somethings have a spiritual circle like that, where it's like, these are the men, these are the sisters beside me that are going to make sure that I press on. So we continue. It says, "Then the Lord said to Moses, write this on the scroll." Oh, we already said that. So we're going to jump right into chapter 18. It says, Jethro visit Moses. Remember what I just said about having people you can rely on. Notice that Moses is becoming more and more of a leader. Now, Jethro, the priest of Midian and the father-in-law of Moses, heard of everything God had done for Moses and his people Israel, and saw how the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt. After Moses had sent away his wife Zipporah, his father-in-law Jethro received her and her 2 sons. One son named Gershom, for Moses said, "I have become an alien in a foreign land," and the other named Eleazar, for he said, "My father God was my helper. He saved me from the sword of Pharaoh." Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, together with Moses' son and wife, came to him in the desert, where he camped near the mountain of God. Jethro sent word to him, "I, your father-in-law Jethro, am coming to you with your wife and your 2 sons." So Moses went out to meet his father-in-law and bowed down and kissed him. They greeted each other and then went to the tent. Moses told his father-in-law everything the Lord had done to Pharaoh and the Egyptians for the Israel's sake, and about all the hardships met along the way and how the Lord had saved them. Jethro was delighted to hear about all the good things the Lord had done in Israel, rescuing them from the hand of the Egyptians. He said, "Praise be to the Lord who rescued you from the hand of the Egyptians, and Pharaoh, who rescued you from the people and from the hand of the Egyptians. Now I know the Lord is greater than all the gods, for he did this to those who had treated Israel arrogantly." Then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, brought a burnt offering and other sacrifices to God. And Aaron came with the elders of Israel to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law in the presence of God. The next day, Moses took his seat to judge and serve as a judge for the people. And they stood around him from morning till evening. All right. Anyone who's feeling overworked, I want you to pay close attention to this, okay? And they stood around him from the morning until the evening. When his father-in-law saw all that Moses was doing for the people, he said, "What is it that you are doing for the people? Why do you alone sit as judge, while all these people stand around you from morning till evening?" Moses said, "Because the people come to me to seek God's will. Whenever they have a dispute, it is brought to me, and I decide between the parties and inform them of God's decrees and laws." Moses' father-in-law replied, "What you are doing is not good." What you are doing is not good. You and these people who come to you will only wear yourselves out. The work is too heavy for you. You cannot handle it alone. Listen now tell Listen now to me, and I will give you some advice. And may God be with you. You must be the people's representative before God and bring their disputes to him. Teach them the decrees of the law and show them the way to live and the duties they are to perform. But select capable men from all people, men who fear God, trustworthy men who hate dishonest gain, and appoint them as officials over thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. Have them serve as judges for people at all times, but have them bring every difficult case to you. The simple cases they can decide themselves. That will make your load lighter, because they will share it with you. If you do this and God so commands, you will be able to stand the strain, and all these people will go home satisfied. Moses listened to his father-in-law and did everything he said. He chose capable men from all of Israel and made them leaders of the people, official over thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. They served as judges for the people at all times. The difficult cases they brought to Moses, the simple ones they decided themselves. Then Moses sent his father-in-law on his way, and Jethro returned to his own country. This is really important. We have to learn a way to make the load easier, especially if we feel like so much is going on, and a lot of us feel like we don't necessarily have that blessing. If you work a traditional job, it may not necessarily be an option for you to just give off your load, to just say, "Hey, I can't do this anymore." That's really for you to pray about and really think about, how can I make this load lighter? How can I make sure that I'm not overworking? How can I make sure that I at least have the heart where I want to make sure I can give up some of this load? It's really important. What's up, Manny, bro? I see you, King. I hope you're doing well and that Boston is treating you well, brother. But I'm going to continue on. So we're in Exodus 19 now. In the third month after the Israelites left Egypt, on the very day they came to the desert of Sinai, after they set out from Rephidim, they entered the desert of Sinai, and Israel camped there in the desert in front of the mountain. Then Moses went up to God, and the Lord called to him from the mountain and said, "This is what you are to say to the house of Jacob, and what you are to tell the people of Israel. You yourselves have seen what I did in Egypt, and how I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now if you obey me fully and keep my covenant, then out of all the nations you will be my most treasured possession. Although the whole earth is mine, you will be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words you speak to the Israelites." So Moses went back and summoned the elders of the people and set before them all the words the Lord had commanded him. Speak. The people all responded together, "We will do everything the Lord has said." So Moses brought their answer back to the Lord. The Lord said to Moses, I'm going to come to you in a dense cloud, so that the people will hear me speaking with you, and will always put their trust in you. Then Moses told the Lord what the people had said. And the Lord said to Moses, "Go on to the people and consecrate them today and tomorrow. Have them wash their clothes and be ready by the third day, because on that day the Lord will come down." This is interesting. God said, "Listen, you better clean up if I'm coming." And what's up, Naisa? I see you, girl. Oh my gosh. Your support is always, it just makes me smile. I miss you, little sis. I wish you could just be here, just give me a hug right now. That would be amazing. I love you, girl. Missing you. I hope you're doing good. Actually, I'm not caught up on your life right now, but I really, really hope things are okay. And I hope that at least I'm right here. Like, even if I'm not talking directly to you, like throughout this, know that my heart is with you, girl. Okay? Love you. But what's really interesting in this specific moment is like when God is coming, his specific request is that they consecrate themselves and have them wash their clothes. He's like, "Please be clean when I come down and be ready on the third day. Because on that day, the Lord will come down on Mount Sinai in the sight of all people." So there's something to being clean, like to literally presenting yourself well. God does actually care about these things. So in verse 12, I'm doing a lot better, girl. My faith is coming back day by day. Like it really is just being reinstilled. I had my moment, but we back. Yeah. So starting again in verse 12, put limits for the people around the mountain and tell them, "Be careful that you do not go up the mountain or touch foot on it. Whoever touches the mountain shall surely be put to death. He shall surely be stoned or shot with arrows. Not a hand is to be laid on him. Whether a man or an animal, he shall not be permitted to live. Only when the ram's horn sounds a long blast may they go up the mountain." After Moses had gone down the mountain to the people, he consecrated them, and they washed their clothes. Then he said to the people, "Prepare yourself for the third day, abstain from sexual relation." On the morning of the third day, there was thunder and lightning, with a thick cloud over the mountain, and a very loud trumpet blast. Everyone in the camp trembled. Then Moses led the people out of the camp to meet with God. What a sight. Like, imagine you're going to meet God today. Like, imagine, we get ready to go out on like dates or even church, right? Like, we're just getting ready for church. But imagine you knew like God was coming, not just oh yeah, we're full of this. No, like God is coming. How do you even get ready for that? Moses led the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. Mount Sinai was covered with smoke because the Lord descended on it in fire. The smoke billowed up from it like the smoke from a furnace. The whole mountain trembled violently. The sound of the trumpet grew louder and louder, and then Moses spoke, and the voice of God answered. The Lord descended to the top of Mount Sinai and called Moses to the top of the mountain. So Moses went up, and the Lord said to him, "Go down and warn the people, so they do not force their way through to see the Lord, and many of them will perish. Even the priests who approach the Lord must consecrate themselves, or the Lord will break out against them." Moses said to the Lord, "The people cannot come up Mount Sinai, because you yourself warned us. Put limits around the mountain and set it apart as holy." The Lord replied, "Go down and bring Aaron up with you. But the priests and the people must not force their way through to come up to the Lord, or he will break out against them." So Moses went down to the people and told them. What's up, Sal? This is a Boston day. I just got with my Indian people earlier, but I love y'all. Chapter 20, the Ten Commandments. God spoke all these words. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt and out of the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol in the form of anything in heaven or above, on earth below, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of their fathers to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love to thousands of generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God, and on it you shall not do any work, neither you nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant or maidservant, nor your animals, nor an alien within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them. But he rested on the seventh day. Therefore, the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Honor your father and your mother, so you may live in the land of your Lord is giving you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox or his donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. When the people saw the thunder and lightning and heard the trumpet and saw the smoke on the mountain, they trembled with fear. They stayed at a distance and said to Moses, "Speak to us yourself, and we will listen. But do not have God speak to us, or we will die." Moses said to the people, "Do not be afraid. God has come to test you." Honestly, I'm not sure what you should perceive that with is. Don't be afraid. God is just trying to test you, bro. If you told me those words, oh yes, God is testing you right now. Like not just like oh, you're going through a hard time. God is no, like God has come down from heaven to your face and he's about to test you. I am absolutely going to be afraid. Oh my God. They say this all the time. And the angels appeared and they were looking crazy. They were like, "Do not be afraid. Peace be with you." Like, bro, choose some different words. Be like, "Hey, I know you're afraid, but it's all good though." You know what I mean? You got to switch the lingo up a little bit. So he said, "Do not be afraid. God has come to test you, so the fear of God will be with you to keep you from sinning." The people remained at a distance while Moses approached the thick darkness where God was. Idols and altars. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites, you have seen yourself that I have spoken to you from the heaven. Do not make any gods to be alongside me. Do not make for yourself any gods of silver or gods of gold. Make an altar of earth for me and sacrifice on it your burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, your sheep and goats and your cattle. Wherever I cause my name to be honored, I will come to you and bless you. If you make an altar of stones for me, do not build it dressed with stones, for you will defile it if you use a tool on it. And do not go up on my altar on steps, lest your nakedness be exposed." All right, guys. We're at the halfway mark officially of Exodus. Now, my hope is that these chapters are actually a little bit smaller because we were about 4 chapters short from our earlier reading. And it actually took me a long time to get through those readings. I'm not sure if I'm just reading slower or what, but it took me a good amount of time to actually finish a lot of this stuff in here. So we got about 8, 9 pages left. Oh goodness. And then tomorrow we're going to be on Leviticus. Oh no. Whew. But it's all good. We know things are going to be okay. What's happening on Twitch? Oh yeah, I have to be able to get to 100 followers on Facebook, so that way I can live stream, and that's okay. I think I can do that. So I'm gonna, because I forgot to do it earlier. I want to say a prayer over the second half. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for your provision. Just a week ago, I was not sleeping. I missed church because of how stressed I was. I stayed in bed thinking about the fact that I didn't have a job, I didn't have money, and I didn't know how I was going to make ends meet. I remember being afraid of showing my face because I'm here to show I'm a man worthy of leading, to show that I'm actually a man they can trust to take one of their daughter's hand in marriage, and trying to show up to the leaders and tell them everything went wrong. I couldn't bear it. And you've restored me, Father, and you have done absolutely amazing things in the following days. You have seen me, and I thank you for that. I know at times I'm hard at it, and I know that there's certain things I take to an extreme. I'm a very specific Christian, but I am yours, God, and I have served you for 6 years, and I continue to serve you and give you my all. With anything I could be doing right now, I chose you, God. I somehow found you, and I thank you that you have humbled my heart, that you haven't hardened it, that you've allowed me to remain steadfast in your faith. And my prayer, God, is that on this second half of this reading, as we finish Exodus, that exactly the people you wanted to come in will do so. That at exactly the moment I'm reading through the verses that relate to them, that they can be present, that you can just put something on their heart right now. It's like, I really should log in to Isaiah's Bible reading just so they can have their faith reinforced, God. Just a little seed, whether it sprouts now or it sprouts 2 or 3 weeks from now or years from now, whatever it is, just please, please, please allow the people who you want to be impacted by this to come and be impacted by this. Allow it to continue to be fruitful, not only for your glory, but God, I'm selfishly asking that you also help me out too, that you build my name in the same way that you lifted Moses. I hope it's not through a lot of tribulation. God, I've had a lot so far, and I really don't want any more. But I do pray that you make my name greater, that you allow me to step into being a professional young man, that I can finally make myself stable, at least financially and with my house, but I will continue to serve you. I completely give you the second half. I pray for the rest of my reading tonight. I pray for my back, that you will just lift me and teach me to be responsible with my body. And yeah, I pray for my voice, and I give this all in your name. The second half is for you, God. May your name be glorified. It's in your holy name, and in your son's name I do these things. And I say, amen. All right, y'all. It's time to do this. Chapter 21. These are the laws you are to set before. If you buy a Hebrew servant, he is to serve you for 6 years. But in the 7th year, he shall go free, without paying anything. If he comes alone, he is to go free alone. But if he has a wife when he comes, she is to go with him. If his master gives him a wife and she bears him sons or daughters, the woman and her children shall belong to her master, and only the man shall go free. But if the servant declares, I love my master and my wife and my children, and do not want to go free, so the master must take him before the judges. He shall take him to the door or the doorpost and pierce his ear with an awl. Then he shall be his servant for life. Crazy. Now, I need y'all to think about this for a second. I know a lot of y'all are single out there, and y'all like, man, I want a wifey so bad. I'm gonna try to really hear that verse, okay? If he comes alone, he is free to go alone. But if he has a wife when he comes, she is to go with him. But if his master gives him a wife, and she bears him sons or daughters, the woman and her children shall belong to her master, and only the man shall go free. But if the servant declares, I love my master and my wife and my children, and do not want to go free, then his master must, it's not even a choice, his master must take him before the judges. He shall take him to the door or the doorpost and pierce his ear with an awl. When his Then he will be his servant for life. So my question is, if you have the choice between being a slave and happily married or free and lonely, would you take that deal? Would you take that deal? You can either be a slave for the rest of your life, but you have a happy family, you have a wife and kids, or you have a husband and kids, and everything is straight, but you're going to be a slave to someone and work under them and do what they want you to do, or you have the option to go free. Would you take that deal? That's for y'all to decide. That's really interesting that there must have been some people who were willing to do that, and who knows what the ratio was, but it's really interesting to think that there really was love back in the day, and that they were like, there's no way I can leave all these people. So, if the man sells his daughter as a servant, she is not free as men servants do. If she does not please the master who has selected her for her himself, he must let her be redeemed. He has no right to sell her to foreigners because he has broken faith with her. If he selects her for his own son, he must grant her the rights of a daughter. If he marries another woman, he must not deprive the first one of her food, clothing, and marital rights. He sets the standard. He's like, I know some people get tripped up with the whole Old Testament multiple wife thing, but notice that even in that, God is trying to protect the woman. He said, if he selects for, or if he marries another woman, he must not deprive the first of her food, clothing, and marital rights. If he does not provide her with these three things, she is free to go without any payment of money. So there's a standard. There's a standard for love and marriage. I know that doesn't have anything to do with being 20 something per se, but I will tell you to know how much God really, really cares about love. Romance is not just like this, oh, do what you want thing. No, there's an intentional plan for it. But it goes on. Anyone who strikes a man and kills him shall surely be put to death. However, if he does not do it intentionally, but God lets it happen, he is free. He is to flee to a place I will designate. But if a man schemes and kills another man deliberately, take him away from my altar and put him to death. Anyone who attacks his father or mother must be put to death. Anyone who kidnaps another and sells him and still has him when he is caught must be put to death. Anyone who curses his father or mother must be put to death. If men quarrel and one hits the other with a stone or with his fist, and he does not die but is confined to bed, the one who struck the blow will not be held responsible if the other gets up, walks around outside with his staff. However, he must pay the injured man for the loss of his time and see that he is completely healed. Interesting. I'm not sure if I read that right, but if I did, he essentially said, listen, bro, if you knock some sense into somebody, but don't kill him, it's all good. I'm not sure if let me reread that. Let me back that up. Let me back that up. If men quarrel and one hits the other with a stone, kapow, or his fist, douche, and he does not die but is confined to bed, The one who struck the blow will not be held responsible if the other gets up and walks around outside with his staff. And I'm pretty sure they're talking about a king. Like, if you bed rest somebody, maybe I'm just misreading this, but if you bed rest someone, you're like, you get on my nerve. Bow! And you have to be in the hospital. He said, I won't make you pay for that, but you will pay for the time that he was bed rest. That's actually kind of crazy. If a man beats his male or female slave with his rod and the slave dies as the direct result, he must be punished. But he is not to be punished if the slave gets up after a day or two, since the slave is his property. If men who are fighting hit a pregnant woman and she gives birth prematurely, there's no serious injury. The offender must be fined whatever the woman's husband demands and the court allows. But if there is serious injury, you are to take life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, bruise for bruise. If a man hits a manservant or maidservant in the eye and destroys it, he must let the servant go free to compensate for the eye. If he knocks out the tooth of a man or maidservant, he must let the servant go free to compensate for the tooth. If a bull gores a man or woman to death, the bull must be stoned to death, and its meat must not be eaten, but the owner of the bull will not be held responsible. If, however, the bull has had a habit of going around and the owner has been warned of this but has not kept it pinned up, and it kills a man or woman, the bull must be stoned to death, and the owner also must be put to death. Control your animals. This old school testament stuff right here. Control your animals. The bull must be stoned and put to death. However, if payment is demanded of him, he may redeem his life by paying whatever is demanded. This law also applies if the bull gores a son or daughter. If the bull gores a male or female slave, the owner must pay 30 shekels of silver to the master of the slave, and the bull must be stoned. If a man uncovers a pit and digs one and fails to cover it, and an ox or donkey falls into it, the owner of the pit must pay for the loss. He must pay its owner, and the dead animal will be his. If a man's bull injures the bull of another one and it dies, they are to sell the live one and divide the money and the dead animal equally. However, if it is known that the bull had a habit of goring, that the owner did not keep it pinned up, the owner must pay animal for animal, and the dead animal will be his. We're cranking through this, guys. One hour in. Okay. If a man steals an ox or a sheep and slaughters it or sells it, he must pay back 5 head of cattle for ox and 4 sheep for the sheep. If a thief is caught breaking in and is struck so that he dies, the offender is not guilty of bloodshed. But if it happens after sunrise, he is guilty of what? If a thief is caught breaking in and is struck so that he dies, the offender is not guilty of bloodshed. But if it happens after sunrise, so if you go robbing in the middle of day, you're technically fine. That's really interesting. A thief must certainly make restitution, but if he has nothing, he must be sold to pay for his theft. If a stolen animal is found alive in his possession, whether ox or donkey or sheep, he must pay back double. If a man grazes his livestock in a field or vineyard and lets them stray, and they graze in another man's field, he must make restitution from the best of his own field and vineyard. If a fire breaks out and spreads into the thorn bushes so that it burns shocks of grain or standing grain or the whole field, the one who started the fire must make restitution. If a man gives his neighbor silver or goods for safekeeping and they are stolen from the neighbor's house, the thief, if he is caught, must pay back double. But if the thief is not found, the owner of the house must appear before the judges to determine whether he laid his hands on the other man's property. In all cases of illegal possession of an ox, donkey, sheep, or garment, or any other lost property about which somebody says, "This is mine," both parties are to bring their cases before the judge. The one whom the judges declare guilty must pay back double to his neighbor. If a man gives a donkey, an ox, a sheep, or any other animal to his neighbor for safekeeping, and it dies or is injured, and is taken away while no one is looking, the issue between them will be settled by taking an oath before the Lord that the neighbor did not lay his hands on another person's property. The owner is to accept this, and no restitution is required. But if the animal was stolen from the neighbor, he must make restitution to the owner. If it was torn to pieces by a wild animal, he shall bring in the remains as evidence, and he will not be required to pay for the torn animal. If a man borrows an animal from his neighbor, and it is injured or dies while the owner is not present, he must make restitution. But if the owner is with the animal, the borrower will not have to pay. If the animal was hired and the money paid for the hire to cover the loss. If a man seduces a virgin who is not pledged to be married and sleep with her, he must pay the bride price, and she shall be his wife. If her father absolutely refuses to give her to him, he must still pay the bride price for virgins. Do not allow a sorceress to live. What? What is that transition? It's like, yo, so if you went over that a virgin girl, you know what I'm saying? Just make sure you treat her with honor and dignity. Pay the full price for her. Make sure you go to the father. Even if he says no, you still have to respect what you've done. Honor that. Oh, and by the way, kill any sorceress you find. Kill her. Put her in the... What is that? What is that? Oh, that's crazy. Anyone who has sexual relations with animals. Oh, goodness. Listen, brothers, sisters, don't do it. You keep your stuff to yourself, okay? You stay away. Worthy of death, okay? I know that there's grace nowadays, but it is worthy of death. You just remember that. Whoever sacrifices to any other god than the Lord must be destroyed. Do not mistreat an alien or oppress them, for you were aliens in Egypt. Do not take advantage of a widow or an orphan. Whoever sacrifices to any other god other than the Lord must be destroyed. Do not mistreat an alien or oppress them, for you were aliens in Egypt. Do not take advantage of a widow or an orphan. If you do and they cry out to me, I will certainly hear their cry. My anger will be aroused, and I will kill you with the sword. Your wives will become widows and your children fatherless. Oh, this chapter. This chapter is it's crazy. If you lend money to one of my people among you who is needy, do not be like a money lender. Charge him no interest. All right, guys, y'all hear that? Y'all hear that? Please don't charge me interest. Don't be like that. I'm just a needy brother in Christ, okay? You don't have to charge me extra. You don't have to tell me, oh, you haven't paid me back, brother. You just love and grace, okay? Okay. But on a serious note, just thank you to everyone who has donated to me. I'm sorry to do this, but I am going to have to place a little bit of a transition. So you guys know I really have been trying to take care of myself And right now, we are reading through the Bible. We already finished Genesis. We're in chapter 23 of Exodus. And if you guys saw my earlier post, then you would know I have made a new website. It's amazing. So this website is absolutely incredible. It is going to make donating to me extremely easy. This portion here is a subscription service. It has my favorite plan, okay? My master marketing strategy is I just want everyone to pay me $1 a day. You can afford $1 a day. I know you can. You can give me $1. And unfortunately, they won't let me actually charge $1 a day, so I have to put it at $7 every 7 days. But it is essentially $1 a day. It would be awesome if you came through and supported me that way. But there's also just the meal plan, which is $25 a month, just to make sure I have food and transportation covered for at least one day. And then there's the life plan, which actually covers everything I need for a day. This includes having a roof over my head, rent, utilities. I don't have a massive following right now, so I do need bigger donations. But I really do hope I get to a point where we can just be completely covered by $1 a day. And if you want to give one-time donations, you can just go straight to the donation hub and you click here. They'll ask you how much you want to donate, what your name is, and it will essentially take you to a donation portal. And if none of that works for you, there are plenty of other ways to give. You have Isaiah E. Young, most things, Venmo, CashApp. You have Zelle. You have Wise for all my international people. You have PayPal. I have you completely covered, brothers and sisters. Now, let's go ahead and get back to the Bible reading, shall we? Sorry for that little intermission. I just had to. It was just the perfect timing, okay? You can't miss your moment. So it says, if you take a neighbor's cloak as a pledge, return it to him by sunset, because his cloak is the only covering he has for his body. What else will he sleep in? When he cries out to me, I will hear, for I'm compassionate. Do not blaspheme God or curse the ruler of your people. Do not. Ooh. Ooh. See, now this one is gonna bother you guys. I know it. I know it. It says, do not cry out against the. Ooh. I know elections are coming up. Elections are coming up. Some Christians are about to be tested. Ooh. Ooh-wee. So in America, I know things are really about to get heated. I'm getting emails as we speak. I know the two main people are homegirl Kamala and homeboy Donald. And there's a highly heated debate going on around this. It's going to divide the church. There's some church people who say, please, Donald, and some people who say, please, Kamala, and they will look at you as sinful if you vote for one or the other. Don't grumble against the leaders, y'all. Do not blaspheme God or curse the ruler of your people. Even in Brazil, all right? I know there's some feelings towards the government, but you cannot grumble or curse the ruler of your people. Now, what you can do, if you're like the Israelites, you can pray to God for help, okay? You can say, things are going absolutely terribly. I know you see this, God. I know that the leaders are in your hand, but this is absolutely terrible, God. Please help my heart. Please do something about this situation. And he may be gracious if enough people do it and just work some things out behind the scenes, okay? Remember that Saul got replaced with David. He is a righteous and good God, but you are not allowed to curse the ruler of the land. Just keep that in mind, y'all. All right? All right? Do not hold back offerings from your granaries or your vats. You must give your firstborn of your sons. Do not do the same with your cattle and your sheep. Let them stay with your mothers for 7 days, but give them to me on the 8th day. You are to be my holy people, so do not eat meat of an animal torn by wild beasts. Throw it to the dogs. Chapter 23. Laws of justice and mercy. Do not spread false reports. Do not help a wicked man by being a malicious witness. Do not follow the crowd in doing wrong. When you give testimony in lawsuit, do not pervert justice by siding with the crowd. And do not show favoritism to a poor man in his lawsuit. If you come across your enemy's ox or donkey wandering off, be sure to take it back to him. If you see the donkey of someone who hates you falling down under its load, do not leave it there. Be sure to help him with it. Do not deny justice to your poor people in their lawsuits. Have nothing to do with false charges, and do not put an innocent or honest person to death, for I will not acquit the guilty. Do not accept a bribe, for bribe blinds those who see, and twist the words of the righteous. Do not oppress an alien. You yourself know how it feels to be aliens, because you were aliens in Egypt. For 6 years you are to sow your fields and harvest the crops. But during the seventh year, let the land lie unplowed and unused. Then the poor among you, then the poor among your people may get food from it, and the wild animals may eat what they leave. Do the same with your vineyard and your olive grove. 6 days do your work, but on the seventh day do not work, so that your ox and your donkey may rest, and the slave born in your household, and the alien as well may be refreshed. I'm gonna have to do the math on this. I'm gonna make a note to myself. I need to finish this Bible. I feel like I need to finish this in 4 days. Today is my second day of reading, so that means in 4 more days I need to be finished reading the Word. Yeah, I have 4 days and I need to be finished reading the Word. I can do this. Okay, 4 days. Be careful to do everything I have said to you. Do not invoke the names of other gods. Do not let them be heard on your lips. 3 times a year you are to celebrate a festival to me. Celebrate the feast of unleavened bread. For 7 days eat bread made without yeast, as I commanded you. Do this at the appointed time in the month of Ahab, for in that month you came out of Egypt. No one is to appear before me empty-handed. Celebrate the feast of harvest with the first fruit of crops you sow in your field. Celebrate the feast of ingathering at the end of the year, when you gather in your crops from the field. 3 times a year all men are to appear before the sovereign Lord. Do not offer blood of a sacrifice to me along with anything containing yeast. The fat of my festival offering must not be kept until morning. Bring the best of the first fruit of your soils to the house of the Lord your God. Do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. God's angels prepare the way. See, I'm sending an angel ahead of you to guard you along the way, to bring you to the place I have prepared. Pay attention to him and listen to what he says. Him? Him? Who is this angel? Do not rebel against him. He will not forgive your rebellion, since my name is in him. Did Jesus appear? Interesting. Oh man, I'm almost out of water. Do not rebel against him. He will not forgive your rebellion since my name is in him. If you listen carefully to what he says and do all I say, I will be an enemy to your enemies, and I will oppose those who oppose you. My angel will go ahead of you and bring you into the land of the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Canaanites, Hivites, Jebusites, and I will wipe them out. Do not bow down before their gods and worship them or follow their practices. You must demolish them and break their sacred stones to pieces. Worship the Lord your God, and his blessing will be on your food and water. I will take away sickness from among you, and none will miscarry or be barren in your land. I will give you a full lifespan. I will send my terror ahead of you and throw into confusion every nation you encounter. I will make all your enemies turn their backs and run. I will send a hornet ahead of you to drive the Hivites, Canaanites, and Hittites on your way. But I will drive them out in a single year, because the land will become desolate and wild animals too numerous for you. Little by little I will drive them out before you, until you have increased enough to take possession of the land. I will establish your borders from the Red Sea to the Sea of the Philistines, and from the desert to the river. I will hand over to you the people who live in a land, and you will drive them out before you. Do not make a covenant with them or with their gods. Do not let them live in your land, or they will cause you to sin against me, because the worship of their gods will certainly be a snare to you. Order refill time, guys. I'm going to take a slight break. 5-minute stretch break. All right. So I don't even know if I can turn off my camera. Dun, dun, dun. Let me see. I'll do this. Okay. I'll do this. And oh. Okay. Yep. Quick and stretch. I'll put this on Be Right Back. Transition. Turn this off. And we're back, guys. Oh man, we're back. So, just a reminder that we are just only at this point in time, I believe, $17. All right. So with that, we are just $17 away from our giving goal today. Just because your boy needs to eat, he needs to keep this roof above his head. So just keep that in mind. But I won't delay any longer. We do have a little bit more to read tonight. So let's go ahead and continue in Exodus 24. It says, "The covenant confirmed. Then he said to Moses, 'Come up to the Lord, you and Aaron, and Nadab and Abihu, and the 70 elders of Israel. You are to worship at a distance, but Moses alone is to approach the Lord, and the other must not come near, and the people may not come up with him.' When Moses went and told the people all the Lord's words and laws, they responded with one voice, 'Everything the Lord has said, we will do.'" See, they're not terrible, guys. They do have a little bit of a soul. It says, "Moses then wrote down everything the Lord had said. He got up early the next morning and built an altar at the foot of the mountain and set up 12 stone pillars representing the 12 tribes of Israel. Then he sent young Israelite men, and they offered burnt offerings and sacrificed young bulls as fellowship offerings to the Lord. Moses took half the blood and put it in bowls, and the other half he sprinkled on the altar. Then he took the book of the covenant and read it to the people. They responded, 'We will do everything the Lord has said. We will obey.' Moses then took the blood, sprinkled it on the people, and said, 'This is the blood of the covenant that the Lord has made with you in accordance with the Lord, these words.' Moses and Aaron and Nadab and Abihu and the 70 elders of Israel went up and saw something like a pavement made of sapphire, clear as the sky itself. But God did not raise his hand against these leaders of Israelites. They saw God, and then they ate and drank. The Lord said to Moses, 'Come up to me on the mountain and stay here, and I will give you the tablet of stone with the law and commands I have written for their instructions.' Then Moses set out with Joshua, his aide, and Moses went up on the mountain of God. He said to the elders, 'Wait here for us until we come back for you. Aaron and Hur are with you. Anyone involved in a dispute can go with them.' When Moses went up the mountain, the cloud covered it, and the glory of the Lord settled on Mount Sinai. For the next 66 days, the cloud covered the mountain, and on the seventh day, the Lord called to Moses from within the cloud. To the Israelites, the glory of the Lord looked like a consuming fire on top of the mountain. Then Moses entered the cloud as he went up on the mountain, and he stayed on the mountain 40 days, 40 nights with God. Beautiful. I know a lot of people have in their time probably have attempted a 40-day, 40-night type of challenge. But the idea of being able to spend that much time with God is just incredible. Chapter 25. The Lord said to Moses, 'Tell the Israelites to bring me an offering. You are to receive the offering for me from each man whose heart prompts him to give. These are the offerings you are to receive from them: gold, silver, and bronze, blue and purple and scarlet yarn, and fine linen, goat hair, ram skins dyed red, and hides of the sea cows, Acacia wood, olive oil for the light, spices for the anointing oil, and for the fragrant incense, onyx stone and the other gems to be mounted on the ephod and breastpiece. Then you are to make a sanctuary for me, and I will dwell among them. Make this tabernacle and furnishings exactly like the pattern I show you. The ark. Have them make a chest of acacia wood, 2.5 cubits long, a cubit and a half wide, a cubit and a half high. Overlay it with pure gold, both inside and out. Make a gold molding around it. Cast 4 gold rings for it and fasten them to the 4 feet with 2 rings, and one side, 2 rings on the other. Then take poles of acacia wood and overlay them with gold. Insert the poles into the ridges on the side of the chest to carry it. The poles are to remain in the rings of the ark. They are not to be removed. Then put in the ark the testimony which I will give you. Make an atonement cover of pure gold, 2.5 cubits long and a cubit and a half wide. Make 2 cherubim out of hammered gold on the ends to cover. Make 1 cherubim on one end and the second cherubim on the other. Make the cherubim of one piece with the cover at the 2 ends. The cherubim are to have their wings spread upward, overshadowing them. The cherubim are to face each other, looking towards the cover. Place the cover on top of the ark and put in the ark the testimony which I will give you. You bear above the cover between 2 cherubim that are over the ark of the testimony. I will meet you and give you all my commands for the Israelites. Make a table of acacia wood, 2 cubits long, 2 cubits wide, and a cubit and a half high. Overlay it with pure gold and make a gold molding around it. Also make around it a rim and a handbreadth wide, and put a gold molding on the rim. Make 4 rings of gold for the table and fasten them to the 4 corners where the 4 legs are. The rings are to be close to the rim to hold the poles used to carry the table. Make the poles of acacia wood, overlay them with gold, and carry the table with them. And make its plates and dishes out of pure gold, as well as its pitchers and bowls and pourings of offerings. Put the bread of the presence on this table to be before me at all times. Make a lampstand of pure gold and hammer it out. Base and shaft, its flower-like cups, buds, blossoms shall be one piece with it. 6 branches are to extend from the sides of the lampstands, 3 on one side, 3 on the other. 3 cups shaped like almond flowers with buds and blossoms are to be on one branch, 3 on the next branch. And the same for all 6 branches extending from the lampstand. And on the lampstand there are to be 4 cups shaped like almond flowers with buds and blossoms. 1 bud shall be under the first pair of branches extending from the lampstand, a second bud under the second pair, a third bud under the third pair. 6 branches in all. The buds and branches shall all be of one piece, with the lampstand hammered out of pure gold. Then make it 7 lamps and set them on it, so that they light up the space in front of it. Its wicks, trimmers, trays are to be pure gold. A talent of pure gold is to be used for the lampstand and all these accessories. See that you make them according to the pattern shown to you on the mountain. Chapter 26. The Tabernacle. Ooh, I knew it. I knew I wouldn't go the day without my voice starting to give. So we still have 14 chapters, guys. But I don't care. We're gonna be short. Make the tabernacle with 10 curtains of freshly twisted linen in blue and purple and scarlet yarn, with cherubim worked into them by skilled craftsmen. All the curtains are to be the same size, 28 cubits long, 4 cubits wide. Join 5 of the curtains together and do the same with the other 5. Make loops of blue material along the edge of the curtain in one set, and do the same at the end of the curtains in the other set. Make 50 loops on the loops on one curtain and 50 loops on the end of a curtain of another set, with the loops opposite to each other. Then make 50 gold clasps and use them to fasten the curtains together. So the tabernacle is in a unit. Make curtains of goat hair for the tent over the tabernacle, 11 altogether. All 11 curtains are to be the same size, 30 cubits long and 4 cubits wide. Join 5 of the curtains together into one set, and the other 6 into another set. Fold the 6th curtain double at the front of the tent. Make 50 loops along the edge and at the end of the curtain in one set, and along the edge of the end of the curtain of the other set. Then make 50 bronze clasps and put them in the loops and fasten the tent together as a unit. As for the additional length of the tent curtains, have the curtain that is left over to hang down in the rear of the tabernacle. The tent curtains will hang over the sides of the tabernacle as to cover it. Make for the tent a covering of ram skins dyed red, and over that covering a hide of sea cows. What are sea cows? What are sea cows? Hippos? Sea lions? Interesting. Oh, there's a little note here. Sea cows. That is dugongs. What is a dugong? Oh, I see. Interesting. Okay. Make upright frames of acacia wood for the tabernacle. Each frame is to be 10 cubits long and a cubit and a half wide, with 2 projections set parallel to each other. Make all the frames of the tabernacle in this way. Make 20 frames for the south side of the tabernacle, and make 40 silver bases to go under them, 2 bases for each frame, 1 under each projection. For the other side, the north side of the tabernacle, make 20 frames and 40 silver bases, 2 under each frame. Make 6 frames for the far end, that is the west end of the tabernacle, and make 2 frames for the corner at the far end. And these 2 corners, they must be double from bottom all the way to the top, fit into a single ring. Both shall be like that, so that there are 8 frames and 16 silver bases, 2 under each frame. Also, make crossbars of acacia wood, 5 for the frames on one side of the tabernacle, and 5 for those on the other side. 5 for the frames on the west side at the far end of the tabernacle, and the center crossbar is to extend from end to end at the middle of the frames. Overlay the frames with gold and make gold rings to hold the crossbars. Also overlay the crossbars with gold. Set up the tabernacle according to the plan shown to you on the mountain. Make a curtain of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, finely twisted linen, with cherubim worked into it by a skilled craftsman. Hang it on gold hooks on 4 posts of acacia wood, overlaid with gold and standing on the 4 silver bases. Hang the curtain with clasps and place the ark of the testimony behind the curtain. The curtain will separate the holy place from the most holy place. Put the atonement cover on the ark of the testimony and the most holy place. Place the table outside the curtain on the north side of the tabernacle, and put the lampstand opposite on the south side. For the entrance to the tent, make a curtain of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and finely twisted linen, the work of an embroiderer. Make gold hooks for this curtain and 5 posts of acacia wood overlaid with gold, and cast 5 bronze bases for them. Build an altar of acacia wood, 3 cubits high. It is to be square, 5 cubits long, 5 cubits wide. Make a horn at each of the 4 corners, so that the horns and altar are one piece, and overlay the altar with bronze. Make all of its utensils of bronze, its pots to remove ashes, and its shovels, sprinkling bowls, meats, forks, and fire pans. Make a grating for a bronze network. Make a bronze ring for each of the 4 corners of network. Put it under a ledge of the altar so that it is halfway up the altar. Make poles of a sea of wood for the altar, overlay them with bronze. The poles are to be inserted into rings so that they will be on two sides of the altar when carried. Make the altar hollow out of boards. It is to be made just as you were shown on the mountain. Make a courtyard for the tabernacle. The south side shall be 100 cubits long, and is to have curtains of finely twisted linen, with 20 posts and 20 bronze bases with silver hooks, bands, and on the posts. The north side shall also be 100 cubits long, and is to have curtains, with 20 posts and 20 bronze bases, and with hooks and bands and posts. The west end of the courtyard shall be 50 cubits long, wide, and curtains, with 10 posts and bases. On the end, towards the sunrise, the courtyard shall also be 50 cubits wide. Curtains 15 cubits long are to be one side of the entrance, and 3 posts and 3 bases, and curtains 15 cubits long are to be on the other side, 3 posts and 3 bases. For the entrance to the courtyard, provide a curtain 20 cubits long of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and finely twisted linen, the work of an embroiderer. The 4 posts and 4 bases. All the posts around the courtyard are to have silver bands and hooks, bronze bases. The courtyard shall be 100 cubits long and 50 cubits wide. The curtain shall, with curtains finely twisted linen, 5 cubits high, and bronze bases. All the other articles used in the service of the tabernacle, whatever their function, including the tent pegs for those for the courtyard, to be of bronze. Command the Israelites to bring you clear oil of pressed olives for the light, so that the lamps may keep burning. In the tent of meeting outside the curtain, that is, the front of the testimony, Aaron and his sons are to keep the lamps burning before the Lord from evening till morning. This is to be a lasting ordinance among the Israelites for generations to come. Have Aaron your brother brought to you among the Israelites, along with his sons, Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar and Itamar, so they may serve me as priests. Make sacred garments for your brother Aaron to give him dignity and honor. Tell all the skilled men to whom I have given wisdom in such matters that they are to make garments for Aaron for his consecration, so that he may serve me as priest. These are the garments they are to make: a breastpiece, an ephod, a robe, a woven tunic, a turban, and a sash. They are to make these sacred garments for your brother Aaron and his son. They may serve me as priests. Have them use gold, blue, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and fine linen. Make an ephod out of gold and blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, finely twisted linen, the work of a skilled craftsman. It is to have 2 shoulder pieces attached to you for its corners, so it can be fastened. Its skillfully woven waistband is to be like it, of one piece with an ephod, and made with gold, with blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, with finely twisted linen, to make 2 onyx stones, engrave them the names of the sons of Israel in the order of their birth, 6 names on one stone, and the remaining 6 on the other. Engrave the names of the sons of Israel on the 2 stones, the way the gem cutters engraves a seal. Then melt the stones in gold filigree settings, and fasten them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod as memorial stones for the sons of Israel. Aaron is to bear the names of his shoulders on his shoulders as a memorial before the Lord. Make gold filigree settings and 2 braided chains of pure gold like rope attached to the chain of the settings. Fashion a best piece for making decisions, the work of skilled craftsmen. Make it like the ephod of gold and a blue or purple scarlet yarn that is finely twisted. It is to be square, a span long and a span wide, folded double, and mount 4 rows of precious stones on it. The first row there should be a ruby, a topaz, a beryl. The second row, turquoise, sapphire, and an emerald. The third row, a jacinth, an agate of emerald. The fourth row, chrysolite and onyx, and a jasper. Mount them in gold filigree settings. There are to be 12 stones, one for each names of the sons of Israel, engraved like a seal with the name of the 12 tribes. For the breastpiece, make braided chains of pure gold like a rope. Make 2 gold chains for it, and fasten them to 2 corners of the breastpiece. Fasten the 2 gold chains and rings at the corners of their breastpiece, and the other end the chains to the 2 settings, attaching them to the shoulder pieces of the ephod at the front. Make 2 gold rings and attach them to the other corners of the breastpiece on the inside edge of the ephod. Make 2 more gold rings and attach them on the bottom of the shoulder pieces on the front of the ephod, close to the seam, just above the waistband of the ephod. The rings of the breast pieces are to be tied to the rings of the ephod with the blue cord connecting it to the waistband, so that the breastpiece will not swing out from the ephod. Whenever Aaron enters the holy place, he will bear the names of the sons of Israel over his heart, the breastpiece of decision, as continuing memorial before the Lord. Also put Urim and Thummim in the breastpiece, so they may be over Aaron's heart whenever he enters the presence of the Lord. Thus Aaron will always bear the means of making decisions for the Israelite over his heart before the Lord. Make a robe of the ephod entirely of blue cloth. Then the opening of the head at its center, there shall be a woven edge like a collar around this opening, so that it will not tear. Make pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet lawn around the hem of the robe, and gold bells between them. The gold bells and pomegranates are to alternate around the hem and robe. Aaron must wear it when he ministers. The sounds of bells will be heard when he enters the holy place before the Lord, and he will come out, so he will not die. Make a plate of pure gold, and engrave it on a sill, holy to the Lord. Fasten a blue cord to it, and attach it to a turban. It is to be on the front of the turban. It will be on Aaron's forehead, and he will bear the guilt involved in the sacred gifts the Israelites consecrate, whatever their gifts may be. It will be on Aaron's forehead continually, so that they will be acceptable to the Lord. Weave the tunic of fine linen, and make the turban of fine linen. The sash is to be a work of an embroiderer. Make tunics, sashes, and headbands for Aaron's son, to give them dignity and honor. After you put these clothes on your brother Aaron and his sons, anoint and ordain them, consecrate them, so that they serve me as priests. Make linen undergarments as covering for the body, reaching from the waist to the thigh. Aaron and his sons must wear them whenever they enter the tent of meeting or approaching the altar to the minister of the holy place, so that they will not incur guilt and die. This is to be a lasting ordinance of Aaron and his descendants. This is what you are to do to consecrate them. They may serve me, so they may serve me as priests. Take a young bull and 2 rams without defect, and fine wheat flour without yeast. Make bread and cakes mixed with oil, wafers spread with oil, and put them in a basket and present them in it, along with the bull and 2 rams. And then bring Aaron and his sons to the entrance of the tent of meeting and wash them with water. Take the garments and dress Aaron with tunic, the robe of the ephod, and the ephod itself, the breastpiece. Fasten the ephod on him by a skillfully woven waistband. Put the turban on his head and attach the sacred diadem to the turban. What's up, bro? Sorry you're catching me at the end of the stream. My voice is giving out on me, but thanks for being here, Joseph. I appreciate you, dog. The priesthood is theirs by a lasting ordinance. In this way you shall ordain Aaron and his sons. Bring the bull to the front of the tent of meeting, and Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on its head. Slaughter it in the Lord's presence at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Take some of the bull's blood and put it on the horns of the altar with your finger, and pour out the rest in the base of the altar. Then take out all the fat around the inner parts, the covering of the liver, and both kidneys and the fat around them, and burn them around the altar. But burn the bull's flesh and its hide and its offal outside the camp. It is a sin offering. Take one of the rams, and Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on its head. Slaughter it and take the blood and sprinkle it against the altar on all sides. Cut the ram into pieces and wash the inner parts and the legs, putting them with the head and other pieces. Then burn the entire ram at the altar. It is a burnt offering to the Lord and a pleasing aroma, an offering made to the Lord by fire. Take the other ram, and Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on its head, slaughter it, and take some of the blood, and put it on the lobes of the right ears of Aaron and his sons, on the thumbs of their right hand, and the big toes. Shout out to the big toe. On their right feet. Then sprinkle blood against the altar on all sides, and take some of the blood on the altar, and some of the anointing oil. And sprinkle it on Aaron and his garments, and his sons and their garments. Then he and his sons and their garments will be consecrated. Take from the ram the fat tail, the fat around the inner parts, the covering, the liver, both the kidneys, with the fat around them, the right thigh. This is the ram for ordination. From the basket of bread without yeast, which before the Lord take a loaf and a cake, and a cake made of oil and a wafer. Put all these in the hands of Aaron and his sons, and wave them before the Lord, and make an offering. Then take them from their hands and burn them on the altar along with the burnt offering for a pleasing aroma to the Lord, an offering made to the Lord by fire. After you take the breast of the ram of Aaron's ordination and wave it before the Lord as a wave offering, and it will be your share. Consecrate those parts of ordination ram that belong to Aaron and his sons, and the breast that waved and the thigh was presented. This is always to be the regular share from the Israelites for Aaron and his sons. Is the contribution of the Israelites are to make to the Lord from their fellowship offering. Aaron's sacred garments belong to his descendants so that they can be anointed and ordained in them. The son who succeeds him as priest and comes to the tent of meeting to minister to the holy place is to wear them 7 days. Take the ram for ordination and cook the meat in the sacred place and the entrance of the tent of meeting. Aaron and his sons are to eat the meat of the ram and the bread that is in the basket. They are to eat these offerings, which is the anointment made for their ordination and consecration, but no one else is to eat the meat, because they are sacred. And if any of the meat of the ordination ram or any bread is left over in the morning, burn it up. It must not be eaten because it is sacred. Do for Aaron and his sons everything I have commanded you, taking 7 days to ordain them. Sacrifice a bull each day as a sin offering to make atonement. Purify the altar, make an atonement for it, and anoint it and consecrate it. For 7 days, make atonement for the altar and consecrate it. Then the altar must be most holy, and whatever touches it will be holy. That is what you are to offer on the altar regularly each day. 2 lambs a year old. Offer on the morning and the other at twilight. With the first lamb, offer in 1/10 of the ephah and flour mixed with the quarter of hin and oil pressed olives, and quarter of the hin of wine as drink offerings. Sacrifice the other lamb at twilight with the same grain offering and its drink offering as in the morning, a pleasing aroma, an offering made to the Lord by fire. For the generations to come, this burnt offering is to be made regularly at the entrance of the tent of meeting before the Lord. There I will meet you and speak to you. There also I will meet with Israelites, and the place will be consecrated by my glory. So I will consecrate the tent of meeting and the altar, and consecrate Aaron and his sons to serve as priests. And I will dwell among the Israelites and be their God. They will know that I am the Lord their God, who brought them out of Egypt so that I might dwell among them. I am the Lord their God. Make an altar of acacia wood for burning incense. It is to be square, a cubit long, a cubit wide, 2 cubits high. Its horn is one piece. Overlay the top of all the sides of the horns with pure gold, and make the gold molding around it. Make 2 gold rings for the altar below the molding, and 2 on the sides to hold the poles used to carry it. Make the poles of acacia wood, overlay them with gold, and put the altar in front of the curtain that is before the ark of the testimony, before the atonement cover that is over the testimony, where I will meet with you. Aaron must burn fragrant incense on the altar every morning when he tends the lamp. He must burn the incense again when he lights the lamp at twilight, so the incense will burn regularly before the Lord for the generations to come. Do not offer on this altar any of the other incense or any burnt offering or grain offerings. Do not pour a drink offering on it. Once a year, Aaron will make atonement on the horns. This annual atonement must be made with blood of the atoning sin offering the generation to come that is most holy to the Lord. Then the Lord said to Moses, when you take the census of the Israelites to count them, each one must pay the Lord a ransom for his life at the time he is counted. Then no plague will come on them when you number them. Each one crosses over to those already counted is to give a half a shekel according to the sanctuary shekel, which weighs 20 gerahs. This half shekel is an offering to the Lord who all cross over. The 20 years old or more are to give an offering to the Lord. The rich are not to give more than a half shekel, and poor are not to give less. When you are make an offering to the Lord to atone your lives, receive the atonement money from the Israelites and use it for the service of the tent of meeting. It will be a memorial for the Israelites before the Lord, make an atonement for your lives. The Lord said to Moses, make a bronze basin, and with this bronze dish for washing. Place it between the tent of meeting and the altar and put water in it. Aaron and his sons are to wash their hands and feet with water from it. Whenever they enter the tent of meeting, they shall wash with waters. They will not die. Also, when they approach the altar to minister by presenting an offering made to the Lord by fire, they shall wash their hands and feet. They will not die. This is a lasting ordinance for Aaron and his descendants and for generations to come. Then the Lord said to Moses, take the following fine spices: 500 shekels of liquid myrrh, half as much, that is 250 shekels of fragrant cinnamon, 250 shekels of fragrant cane, 500 shekels of cassia, all according to the sanctuary shekel, and hin of olive oil. Make these into a sacred anointing oil, a fragrant blend of the work of a perfumer. It will be the sacred anointing oil. Then use it to anoint the tent of meeting, the ark of the testimony, the table of all the articles, the lampstand and its accessories, and the altars of incense, the altars of burnt offering, and all its utensils, and the basins with the stands. You shall consecrate them, so they will be most holy, and whatever touches them will be holy. Anoint Aaron and his sons and consecrate them, so you may serve me as priests. Say to the Israelites, this is my sacred anointing oil for generations to come. Do not pour it on the men's bodies, and do not make any oil in the same formula. It is sacred. You are to consider it sacred. Whoever makes a perfume like it, whoever puts it on anyone other than a priest, must be cut off from the people. Then the Lord said to Moses, take fragrant spices, gum resin, onycha, galbanum, and pure frankincense, all in equal amounts, and make a fragrant blend of incense, the work of a perfumer. It is to be salted and pure and sacred. Grind some of it to powder and place it in front of the tent of meeting. And place it in front of the testimony in the tent of meeting, where I will meet you, and I will be most holy to you. Do not make any incense with this formula for yourselves. Consider it holy and for the Lord. Hey, Ma.
Hey, baby. How you doing, baby?
I'm doing good. I'm doing a Bible reading right now. Are you okay?
Oh, yeah, I'm good. I was just calling to check on your bank account, but you can call me later.
Okay. I have about 10 more chapters left, and then, or actually, are you going to bed soon?
I know, I'm back at work, so I gotta be at work for about 45 minutes to an hour, then I'm gonna head home.
Okay. Text me when you get home.
Okay, no problem, baby. I love you.
I love you.
Later, baby. Your bank account overdrawn?
No, it's not. I've been very blessed. Every day I'm making it work.
Okay. So if I put a little bit in it, they're not going to just take it. Okay, right?
Correct.
All right, I'll get paid till tomorrow, but I'll see what I can do, okay?
Okay. Thanks, Mom.
All right, I love you, absolutely, baby. Love you.
Love you. All right.
Later, baby.
All right. Bye. All right. And make a fragrant blend of incense. Okay, chapter 31. Then the Lord said to Moses, See, I have chosen Bezalel, son of Uri, the son of Hur, in the tribe of Judah, and I have filled him with the Spirit of God, with the skill and ability and knowledge and all. Oh, this is perfect. I haven't highlighted anything in a long time, okay? I was struggling to get through all of those detailed instructions, which are beautiful and amazing. But oh man, did they hurt my voice. It's okay. But we finally found something that I really think is good to know for us 20 somethings. I'm gonna read this again. Then the Lord said to Moses, See, I have chosen Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, the tribe of Judah, and I have filled him with the Spirit of God and with skill and ability and knowledge in all kinds of crafts to make artistic designs for work in gold, silver, and bronze, to cut and set stones to work in the wood, and to engage in all kinds of craftsmanships. Moreover, I have appointed Oholiab, son of Ahisamach of the tribe of Dan, to help him. Also, I have given skill to all the craftsmen to make everything I have commanded you. Skill literally comes from God, okay? He equips people for the work. It is not random. You have to pray for these gifts, or you already have them because God wanted you to do them in the first place. In the same way that not everyone could do what I'm doing right now, right? Not everyone could just sit in front of their computer, hop on a live stream, and read the Bible, right? It just sounds super simple. Everyone isn't doing it, are they? All right. Like, I'm really the only friend I know that has done this. Again, and I've been a Christian for like 6 years. I don't really know of anything that's been done like this for my personal circle. So I know I've been given certain qualities. I know that I'm the only one here in Brazil right now for a reason. Okay. There's people with similar gifts, but I know I've been equipped with a certain set of things, and I'm every day trying to step forward into my purpose. You have a purpose. You have your own set of gifts and things God has equipped you to do, and it is for a good use, okay? If you are talented in it, stop acting like it's an accident. Stop apologizing for being great. Stop apologizing for being exactly the person God wanted you to be, which is skilled in an area that God is going to use. This right here wouldn't normally seem like a useful trait. In fact, if they were in Egypt, it would be like a trait of a slave. Like, oh man, this worker is so good at building. Remember that the Israelites were building bricks, and basically, while they were being enslaved, that is what they were known for. But now you get out, you get free, and those same skills that were used when he was oppressed and just the thing he used to get by, now those things are being used to glorify God in their own building, a holy place. They went from building buildings as slaves to being building buildings for the Lord Himself. See the switch up. See how beautiful and amazing that is. I really think 20 somethings can benefit if you guys would stop apologizing for your gifts and embrace them. Even if you are like, oh man, the reason I got this gift was because of some bad thing. Maybe back in the day, you used to hustle and do things you're not supposed to do behind the scenes, especially, you know what I'm saying? Like my people coming from tougher environments, urban cities, things that are a little shady, crime is a little bit more freaking, and maybe you learn how to be a little shiesty. You got baptized, and now you're like, wow, I'm really good at learning how to make money real quick. I'm learning how to flip things. I learned how to make things. Maybe God wants to use that same talent, which was so bad at first, and actually use it for the kingdom. Maybe he's asking you, like, oh, I really need you to be financially responsible. A lot of Christians don't know how to handle money. This guy, I have run myself into the ground so many times. This is the first time in my life where I've been pretty decently responsible, and I'm still struggling to make things right. But luckily, I'm coming up. You may have a gift right now that God is trying to use. You hear these fireworks outside? It's going off for you, brother or sister in Christ. Accept your gift and do something with it, okay? Do something with it, please. For me, for God, and for yourself. I love y'all. Now get out there. Go do it. Let me highlight this. Wherever I have a point, the tent of meeting, the ark of the testimony with the atonement to cover it, all the furnishings of the tent, the table and its articles, the pure gold lampstand, all its accessories, the altar of incense, the altar of burnt offering, and all its utensils, and the basin with its stand, and also the woven garments, both the sacred garments for Aaron and the priests, and the garments for his sons when they serve as priests, and the anointing oil and fragrant incense of the holy place. They are to make them as I commanded you. The Sabbath. Then the Lord said to Moses, say to the Israelites, you must observe my Sabbaths. This will be a sign between me and you for generations to come, so you may know that I am the Lord who makes you holy. Observe the Sabbath because it is holy to you. Anyone who desecrates it must be put to death. Whoever does any work on the day must be cut off from his people. For 6 days work is to be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest, holy to the Lord. Whoever does any work on the Sabbath day must be put to death. The Israelites are to observe the Sabbath, celebrate it to generations to come as a lasting covenant. It will be a sign between me and the Israelites forever. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth. On the seventh day he abstained from work and he rested. When the Lord finished speaking to Moses at Mount Sinai, he gave him the 2 tablets, the testimony, the tablets of the stone, inscribed, the tablets stone inscribed by the finger of God. What a beautiful image. When the Lord finished speaking to Moses on Mount Sinai, he gave them the tablets of the testimony, 2 tablet stones inscribed by the finger of God. We get to chapter 32, the golden calf. When the people saw that Moses was so long in coming down the mountain, they gathered around Aaron and said, come, make us gods who will go before us. Patience and timing, what abuse. As for this fellow Moses who brought us out of Egypt, we don't know what has happened to him. Aaron answered them, take off the gold earrings that your wives, your son, and your daughters are wearing and bring them to me. So all the people took off their earrings and brought them to Aaron. He took what they handed him and made it into an idol cast in the shape of a calf, into it, fashioning it with a tool. Then they said, "These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you out of Egypt." Then when Aaron saw this, he built an altar in front of the calf and announced, "Tomorrow there will be a festival of the Lord." So the next day, the people rose early and sacrificed burnt offerings and presented fellowship offerings. Afterwards, they sat down to eat and drink and got up to indulge in revelry. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go down, because your people whom you brought out of Egypt have become corrupt. They have been quick to turn away from what I have commanded them, and have made themselves an idol, cast into the shape of calf. They have bowed down to it and sacrificed to it, and have said, 'These are your gods, O Israel, who have brought you out of Egypt.' I have seen these people," the Lord said to Moses. "They are stiff-necked people, and now leave me alone so my anger may burn against them, that I may destroy them. Then I will make you into a great nation." Honestly, that's not that bad of an offer. I'm not going to hold you. Like, these people literally saw a burning mountain. They've seen the plagues. They've been through some absolutely incredible stuff. They grumbled, but yet they were fed like just bread from heaven. They literally had a buffet set before them just so that they could eat and know peace. And what does all that get God? A golden calf? It's kind of ridiculous. So if I was Moses at this time and God is like, "Oh yeah, all those people who have been bothering you and giving you a headache, I'm going to kill them and I'm going to make sure that I make you another great nation." It's honestly something that I probably would have taken up. But unfortunately, I guess not unfortunately, fortunately, Moses is a better man than I. So he actually doesn't take the offer. He says, "But Moses sought the favor of the Lord his God. He said, 'O Lord, why should your anger burn against your people whom you brought out of Egypt with great power and a mighty hand? Why should the Egyptians say it was an evil intent that he brought them out, to kill them on the mountains and wipe them off the face of the earth? Turn from your fierce angers, relent, and do not bring disaster on your people. Remember your servants Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, to whom you swore by your own self, I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and give your descendants all this land I promised them, and I will be their inheritance forever.' Then the Lord relented and did not bring his people the disaster he had said." Jonathan, my boy, my South City representative. Bro, I hope you're doing well. I see you. I'm really, really praying that things are just going amazing up there, that you're just doing some incredible things, and I'm super proud of you, dude. So thanks for stopping by and just being here. We're getting to the end of Exodus, dog. We're almost there. I got 8 more chapters. 8 more, that's it. But I appreciate you staying here for a bit, stopping by to share your support. He then goes on and says in verse 15, chapter 32, Moses turned down and went down the mountain with the 2 tablets of testimony in his hands. They were inscribed on both sides, front and back. The tablets were the work of God. The writing was the writing of God engraved on the tablets. When Joshua heard the noise of the people shouting, he said to Moses, "There's the sound of war in the camp." Moses replied, "It is not a sound of victory. It is not a sound of defeat. It is the sound of singing that I hear." When Moses approached the camp and saw the calf and the dancing, his anger burned, and he threw the tablets out of his hand, breaking them into pieces at the foot of the mountain. He took the calf they made and burnt it in a fire. Then he ground it into powder, scalded it in water, and made the Israelites drink it. Savage. This is one of like Moses' coolest moments. Like, he's mad, he literally has the tablet which the finger of God touched. Okay, people miss that detail, but the finger of God literally scribed the words onto the tablets. He was so mad, he throws it on the ground, he melts the calf, and then he makes the people actually drink it. Complete, utter madness. Moses is having an incredible chapter, in terms of story writing at least. He said to Aaron, verse 21, "What did these people do to you? that you led them into such great sin? Do not be angry, my lord, Aaron answered. You know how prone these people are to evil. They said to me, make us gods who will go before us. As for this fellow Moses who brought us up out of Egypt, we don't know what has happened to him. So I told them, whoever has any gold jewelry, take it off. Then they gave me the gold and threw it into the fire, and out came this calf. And everyone makes fun of Aaron for this because he's absolutely the worst at taking accountability. Just terrible. Moses saw that the people were running wild and that Aaron had let them get out of control, and so became a laughingstock to their enemies. So he stood at the entrance of the camp and said, whoever is for the Lord, come to me. And all the Levites rallied to him. Then he said to them, this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Each man strap a sword to his side. Go back and forth through the camp from one end to the other, each killing his brother and friend and neighbor. Crazy. The Levites did as Moses commanded, and that day about 3,000 of the people died. Then Moses said, you have been set apart to the Lord today, for you were against your own sons and brothers, and he has blessed you this day. The next day Moses said to the people, you have committed a great sin, but now I will go up to the Lord. Perhaps I can make an atonement for your sin. So Moses went back up to the Lord and said, oh, what a great sin these people have committed. They have made themselves gods of gold. But now please forgive their sin. But if not, then blot me out of the book you have written. The Lord replied to Moses, whoever has sinned against me, I will blot out of my book. Now go, lead the people to the place I spoke of, and my angel will go before you. However, when the time comes for me to punish, I will punish them for their sin. The Lord struck the people with the plague because of what they did with the calf Aaron had made. And it just goes to show, guys, I mean, I could comment on a bunch of things here. Maybe you're curious about which thing I'm going to comment on, right? I'm actually, again, focusing this chapter for those of you who can't see it. This is on Twitch, this is on YouTube. But the main focus I wanted to do for 20 somethings is actually looking at the character of Moses. He started as a flawed man who wasn't sure of his words. And I want you to actually pay attention here to how confident Moses has gotten. He is meeting with God face to face. Well, I don't think it's face to face yet, but they're doing the whole mountain thing, which is kind of crazy. He comes down the mountain, he looks at people, and he's like, you guys are literally insane. And he's confident enough to say, okay, here's what we're going to do. And his heart has solidly increased over time. Like, we haven't watched it happen because it was so smooth, but he has got to a point where he's finally confident in who he is. He has separated himself even from his brother Aaron, who he begged to have with him. He's like, I really need someone to just speak up for me. God, I'm so weak. I could never do this. I could never leave. Da da da. And notice here how he stands with his own 2 feet, his own mind, and says, this is wrong. This is what we need to do. And how men actually flock to him for his resilience, for his good heart. Men who understand the truth actually come to him because they say, you are a man of God. You are a man of God. So even if you're amongst people right now who are highly frustrated, even if you have a church or a ministry that may be extremely aggravating, just know that God sees that. And if you stay resolute, if you stay a man of God, if you pray to him, notice that he also fought for the Israelites despite their hard-headedness. He said, okay, I don't want to hold you people, but for your name's sake, make these people a testimony, change them. That's better than them being wiped out. I'd rather them become faithful. He prays on their behalf, but then he rebukes them, and he does what is necessary to bring them back up to glory. He then goes up the mountain and prays again. He prays twice. He prays before with love. He goes in anger, and then he prays in love again. And I have to make sure that we have this quality. Like, this is a really cool thing that we can have as 20-somethings. We can notice all the problems, but do we pray? Do we pray? Like, have we got so hard-hearted that we're like, oh, I don't want anything to do with my church anymore. Oh, I need to separate and break away. Or do we say, God, when we started this mission, it was for your glory. If this is not fixed, it will completely be a disservice to who you are. So I pray for your sake and for our sake that you fix this people. And then the next step of actually going there and doing the hard work. Now, God's not going to ask you to go slay people, okay? Like, that is not his intentions by any means. Most likely. Most likely in today's time, right? But whether you're a man or woman, are you willing to go there and do the hard work of restoration as the 20 something crowd? And then, as that process is happening, to still be praying for that church, to be praying that things grow, to be praying that things change. Okay? Like, it only took one Moses to completely change the Israelite camp around. And you may be that one person who is needed to turn your church around. Okay? Because not every church is great. I'm going to keep it a buck. Every church most likely is going to go through at least one season where things are terrible, there's bad decisions being made, and you need a faithful leader to make sure that they come back. It is not abandoning ship. It is making sure that the ship remains for the glory of God, so we don't stay a laughing stock to the world. The world is watching, and we want to make sure that God's name is glorified, to show that even a church that's going downhill can be restored with the right faith, okay? So please, please, please keep that in mind. Chapter 33. Then the Lord said to Moses, leave this place, you and the people you brought out of Egypt. Go up to the land I promised on oath of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, I will give it to your descendants. I will send an angel before you and drive out the Canaanites, the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and Jebusites. Go up to the land flowing of milk and honey, the promised land. But I will not go with you, because you are a stiff-necked people, and I might destroy you on the way. When the people heard these distressing words, they began to mourn, and no one put on any ornaments. For the Lord had said to Moses, tell the Israelites, you are a stiff-necked people. If I were to go with you, even for a moment, I might destroy you. Now take off your ornaments, and I will decide what to do with you. So the Israelites stripped off their ornaments at Mount Horeb. Verse 7. Now Moses used to take a tent and pitch it outside the camp some distance away, calling it the tent of meeting. Anyone inquiring of the Lord would go to the tent of meeting outside the camp, and whenever Moses went out to the tent, all stood at the entrances of their tent, watching Moses until he entered the tent. As Moses went into the tent, the pillar of cloud would come down and stay at the entrance while the Lord spoke with Moses. Whenever the people saw the pillar of cloud standing at the entrance of the tent, they stood and worshipped, each at the entrance of his tent. The Lord would speak to Moses face to face, as a man speaks to his friend. Then Moses would return to camp, but his young age, Joshua, son of Nun, did not leave the tent. Verse 12. Moses said to the Lord, you have been telling me, lead these people, but you have not let me know whom you will send with me. You have said, I know you by name, and you have found favor with me. If you are pleased with me, teach me your ways so that I may know you and continue to find favor with you. Remember that this nation is your people. The Lord replied, "My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest." And Moses said to him, "If your presence does not go with us, do not send us up from here. How will anyone know that you are pleased with me and with your people unless you go with us? What else will distinguish me from your people and from all the other people on the face of the earth?" The Lord said to Moses, "I will do the very thing you have asked, because I am pleased with you and I know you by name." Then Moses said, "Now show me your glory." The Lord said, "I will cause all my goodness to pass in front of you, and I will proclaim my name, the Lord. In your presence I will have mercy on whom I will, and I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I have compassion." But he said, "You cannot see my face, for no one may see my face, see me and live." Then the Lord said, "There is a place near me where you may stand on a rock. When my glory passes by, I will put you in a cleft in the rock and cover you in my hand until I pass. Then I will remove my hand and you will see my back, but my face must not be seen." Chapter 34. The new stone tablets. The Lord said to Moses, "Chisel out 2 stone tablets like the first ones, and I will write on them the words that were on the first tablets which you broke. Be ready in the morning. Then come up the Mount Sinai. Present yourself to me there on top of the mountain. No one is to come with you or be seen anywhere near the mountain. Not even the flocks or herds may graze in front of the mountain." So Moses chiseled out 2 stone tablets like the first one and went up Mount Sinai early in the morning, as the Lord commanded him. He carried the 2 stone tablets in his hands. Then the Lord came down in the cloud and stood there with him and proclaimed his name, the Lord. And he passed in front of Moses, proclaiming, the Lord, the compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness, maintaining love to thousands, and forgiving wickedness, rebellion, and sin. Yet he does not leave the guilty unpunished. He punishes the children and their children for the sin of their fathers to the 3rd and 4th generation. Moses bowed to the ground at once in worship. "O Lord, if I found favor in your eyes," he said, "then let your Lord go with us. Although this is a stiff-necked people, forgive our wickedness and our sin. Take us as your inheritance." Then the Lord said, "I am making a covenant with you. Before all your people, I will do wonders never before done in any nation in all the world. The people you live among will see how awesome is the work that I, the Lord, will do for you. Obey what I command you today. I will drive out before you the Amorites, Canaanites, Hittites, Perizzites, Havites, and Jebusites. Be careful not to make a treaty with those who live in the land where you are going, or they will be a snare among you. Break down their altars, smash their sacred stones, and cut down their Asherah poles. Do not worship any other gods, for the Lord, worship any other god, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. Be careful not to make a treaty with those who live in the land, for they prostitute themselves to their gods and sacrifice to them. They will invite you, and you will eat their sacrifices. And when you choose some of their daughters as wives for your sons, and those daughters prostitute themselves to their gods, they will lead your son to do the same. Do not make cast idols. Celebrate the feast of unleavened bread. For 7 days eat bread made without yeast, as I commanded you. Do this at the appointed time in the month of Abib, for in that month you came out of Egypt. The first offspring of every womb belongs to me, including all the firstborn males of your livestock, whether from herd or flock. Redeem the firstborn donkey with lamb, but if you do not redeem it, break its neck. Redeem all your firstborn sons. No one is to appear before me empty-handed. 6 days you shall labor, but on the 7th day you shall rest, even during the plowing season. Harvest Even during the plowing season and harvest, you must rest. Celebrate the Feast of Weeks with the first fruit of wheat harvest, and the Feast of Ingathering at the turn of the year. 3 times a year, all your men are to appear before the sovereign Lord and the God of Egypt. I will drive out nations before you and enlarge your territory. No one will covet your land when you go 3 times each year to appear before the Lord your God. Do not offer the blood of the sacrifice among to me along anything containing yeast, and do not let any of the sacrifice from the Passover feast remain until morning. Bring out the best of the first fruits of the soil to the house of the Lord your God, and do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. Then the Lord said to Moses, write down these words, for in accordance with these words I have made a covenant with you and with Israel. Moses was there the Lord 40 days and 40 nights without eating bread or drinking water. The Lord without. And he wrote on the tablets of the words of the covenant, the 10 Commandments. When Moses came down from Mount Sinai with 2 tablets, the testimony. He was not aware that his face was radiant because he had spoken with the Lord. When Aaron and all the Israelites saw him, his face was radiant, and they were afraid to come near him. But Moses called to him, so Aaron and all the leaders of the community came back to him, and he spoke with them. After all the Israelites came near him, and he gave them all the commands the Lord had given him at Mount Sinai. When Moses finished speaking to them, he put a veil over his face, but whenever he entered the Lord's presence to speak with them, he removed the veil until he came out. And when he came out and told the Israelites, but whenever he entered the Lord's presence to speak with him, he removed the veil until he came out. And when he came out and told the Israelites what he had been commanded, they saw that his face was radiant. Then Moses would put the veil back over his face until he went to speak with the Lord. Chapter 35. Moses assembled the whole Israelite community and said to them, these are the things the Lord has commanded you to do. For 6 days work is to be done, but the 7th day shall be your holy day, the Sabbath of rest from the Lord. Whoever does any work on it must be put to death. Do not light a fire in any of your dwellings on the Sabbath day. Moses said to the whole Israelite community, this is what the Lord has commanded. From what you have, take an offering of the Lord. Everyone who is willing is to bring the Lord an offering of gold, silver, and bronze. What's up, Trevor? I miss my camp people. Sending love, bro. You're an incredible dude. You come from my school. You're a patriot. You know what I'm saying? I love you, dog, and I hope you're doing well. Make sure you give Seth a very big hug for me next time you see him, because I miss him as well. And also give James a hug. But I'm going to continue reading. Moses said to the whole Israelite community, this is what the Lord has commanded. From what you have, take an offering for the Lord. Everyone who is willing is to bring the Lord an offering of gold, silver, and bronze, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and fine linen, goat hair, ram skins dyed yarn, fine linen, goat hair, ram skins dyed red, and hides of sea cows, acacia wood, olive oil for light spices, for anointing oil, and for fragrant incense, and onyx stones and other gems to be mounted on the ephod and breastpiece. All who are skilled among you are to come and make everything the Lord has commanded. The tabernacle with its tent and its coverings, clasps, frames, crossbars, posts, and bases. the ark with its poles and atonement covering the curtain that shields it, the table with its poles and all the articles and the bread of the presence, the lampstand that is for the light, with its accessories, lamps and oils for the light, the altar of incense with poles, the anointing oil, the fragrant incense, the curtain of the doorway at the entrance of the tabernacle, the altar of burnt offering with its bronze grating, its poles, and all its utensils, the bronze basin with the stand, the curtains of the courtyard, its posts and bases, the curtain for the entrance of the courtyard, the tent pegs, the tabernacle, and for the courtyard, and their ropes, the woven garments worn for ministering in the sanctuary, both the sacred garments. What's up? What's up? What's up? I see you, Arshia. Welcome. Thanks for stopping by for a bit, however long you're here. Just know I see you and I love you, and I appreciate you coming by and supporting for a bit. Both the sacred garments for Aaron and the priests, and the garments for his sons when they serve as priests. Then the whole Israelite community withdrew from Moses' presence, and everyone who was willing and whose heart moved him came and brought an offering to the Lord for the work of the tent of meeting, for all the services and all the sacred garments. All who were willing, men and women alike, came and brought gold jewelry of all kinds, brooches, earrings, rings, and ornaments. They all presented their gold as a wave offering to the Lord. Everyone who had blue, purple, or scarlet yarn or fine hides of sea cows brought them. Those presented an offering of silver or bronze brought it as an offering to the Lord, and everyone who had esse of wood for any part of the work brought it. Every skilled woman spun her hands and brought what she had spun, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and fine linen. And all the women who were willing had the skill, spun the gold yarn. The leaders brought onyx stones. I'm actually going to pause here. So I have a couple of projects in my head that I really want to do. And the reason I'm highlighting this right now is this is an amazing work of the community coming together. It's an incredible work. Like, everyone who had it and was there was basically down to give. And that's truly incredible. And I think that's really awesome. So it goes on and it says, Then Moses said to the Israelites, or all the Israelite men and women who were willing brought to the Lord free will offerings for all the work the Lord, through Moses, had commanded them to do. Then Moses said to the Israelites, See, the Lord has chosen Bezalel, son of Uri, son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, and he has filled him with the Spirit of God, with skill, ability, and knowledge in all kinds of work and crafts, to make artistic designs for work in gold, silver, and bronze, to cut and set stones, to work in wood, and engage in all types of artistic craftsmanship. And he has given both him and Oholiab, the son of Ashmelech of the tribe of Dan, the ability to teach others. He has filled them with skill to do all kinds of work of craftsmen, designers, embroiderers, in blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, in fine linen, and weavers, and all the master craftsmen and designers. Woo! So we got 5 chapters left in the book of Exodus. So we're going to take a little mini break here, and we're going to pick back up in a second, guys. Love y'all, and I'll be back in a second. And we're back, guys. Unfortunately, the Instagram stream ended because I was doing a little bit too much on my phone. Which, hey, man, that's on me. That's on me. I can admit that. But let's go ahead and try to finish up this book. So we're picking up in chapter 36, and we're going to try to just rush through this. All right. So, if you turn with me, here's a reminder of everything we're looking for in Exodus. Also, a reminder there's $17 left for this stream. And yeah, it picks up and it says, so Bezalel and Oliab and every skilled person to whom the Lord has given skill, ability to know how to carry out the work of constructing the sanctuary are to do the work just as the Lord has commanded. And Moses' son Bezalel, Oliab, and every skilled worker to whom the Lord had given ability and whom was willing to come and do the work, they received from Moses all the offerings the Israelites had brought to carry out the work of constructing the sanctuary. And the people continued to bring free will offerings morning after morning, so that all the skilled workers and craftsmen who were all doing the work of the sanctuary left their work and said to Moses, the people are bringing more than enough for the work of the Lord commanded to be done. Then Moses gave an order, and they sent this word throughout the camp: no man or woman is to make anything else as an offering for the sanctuary. And so the people were restrained from bringing more, because what they already had was more than enough to do all the work. All the skilled men among the workmen made the tabernacle with 10 curtains of finely twisted linen and blue and purple scarlet yarn. With cherubim worked them by skilled craftsmen. All the curtains were the same size, 28 cubits long, 4 cubits wide. They joined 5 curtains together and did the same with the other 5. Then they made loops of blue material along the edge of the end curtain in one set, and the same was done to the end of the curtain on the other set. They made 50 loops on one curtain and 50 loops on the end curtain set, with loops opposite each other. They made 50 gold clasps and used them to fasten 2 sets of curtains together, so the tabernacle was a unit. They made curtains of goat hair for the tent over the tabernacle, 11 altogether, 30 cubits long and 4 cubits wide. They joined 4 or 5 of the curtains into one set, and the other 6 into the other set. Then made 50 loops along the edge and the end curtain in one set, and also along the edge from the end curtain and the other set. They made 50 bronze clasps to fasten the tent together as a unit. Then they made for the tent a covering of ram skins dyed red, and over that a covering of hide of sea cows. They made upright frames of acacia wood for the tabernacle. Each frame was 10 cubits long and a cubit and a half wide, with 2 projections set parallel to each other. They made all the frames of the tabernacle in this way. They made 20 frames of the south side of the tabernacle. They made 40 bases to go under them, 2 bases for each frame and under each projection. For the other side, the north side of the tabernacle, they made 20 frames and 40 silver bases, 2 under each frame. They made 6 frames for the far end, that is, the west end of the tabernacle, and 2 were made for the corners of the tabernacle as the far end. At these corners of the frames were double from bottom all the way to the top, fitted to a single ring. Both were made alike, so that there were 8 frames, 16 in silver bases, 2 under each frame. They also made crossbars of acacia wood, 5 for the frames on one side of the tabernacle, 5 from those on the other side, and 5 of the frames of the west and the far ends of the tabernacle. They made the center crossbar so that it extended end to end in the middle frames. They overlaid the frames with gold and made gold rings to hold the crossbar. They also overlaid the crossbar with gold. They made the curtain blue and purple scarlet yarn, finely twisted linen, with cherubim worked into it by a skilled craftsman. They made 4 posts of acacia wood, were overlaid with them with gold, and they made the gold hooks for them, and cast their 4 silver bases for the entrance to the tent They made the curtain blue, purple, and scarlet yarn finely twisted, and the work of an embroiderer. And they made 5 posts with the hooks in them. They overlaid the tops of the posts and their bands with gold and made their 5 bases of bronze. Chapter 37. Bezalel made an ark of acacia wood, 2.5 cubits long, and a cubit and a half wide, and a cubit and a half high. He overlaid it with pure gold, both inside and out, and made a gold molding around it. He cast 4 gold rings for it, and fastened them into its 4 feet, with 2 rings, one on each side, 2 rings on the other. Then he made poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold. He inserted the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark to carry it. He made the atonement cover of pure gold, 2.5 cubits long and 2.5 cubits wide. He made the 2 cherubim out of hammered gold at the ends of the cover. He made 1 cherub at one end and the second cherub at the other, and the 2 ends he made them of one piece with the cover. The cherubim had their wings spread upward, overshadowing the cover with them. The cherubim faced each other, looking toward the cover. They made the table out of acacia wood, 2 cubits long, a cubit high, a cubit wide, and a cubit and a half high. They then overlaid with pure gold and made a gold molding around it. They also made around it a rim of hand breadth wide and put a gold molding on the rim. They cast 4 gold rings for the table and fastened them to the 4 corners where the 4 legs were. The rings were put close to the rim to hold the poles used to carry the table. The poles for carrying the table were made out of acacia wood and were tailored or overlaid with gold. And they made from pure gold the articles for the table, its plates, its dishes and bowls, and its pitchers for pouring out the drink offerings. They made the lampstand out of pure gold and hammered it, the base of the shaft, its flower-like cup, buds and incense blossoms with one piece, 6 branches extended from the sides of the lampstand, 3 on one side, 3 on the other, 3 cups shaped like almond flowers with the buds and blossoms were on the branch, 3 on the next branch, and at the same time, for all 6 branches extending from the lampstand. On the lampstand were 4 cups shaped like almond flowers with buds and blossom. 1 bud was under the first branch, a pair of branches extending from the lampstand, a second bud under the second pair, the third bud under the third pair, 6 branches in all. The bud and the branches were all one piece with the lampstand hammered out of pure gold. They made it 7 lamps, as well as its wicks, trimmers, and trays of pure gold. They made the lampstand and all of its accessories from 1 talent of pure gold. They made the altar of incense out of acacia wood. It was square, a cubit long, a cubit wide, 2 cubits high. Its horn of one piece. They overlaid on the top of it all the sides of the horns with pure gold. They made a gold molding around it. They made 2 gold rings below the molding, 2 on the opposite sides to hold the poles used to carry it. They made the poles of acacia wood and laid them with gold. They also made sacred anointing oil and pure fragrant incense, the work of a perfumer. They built the altar of burnt offerings of acacia wood, 3 cubits high. It was square, 5 cubits long, 5 cubits wide. They made a horn on each of the 4 corners so that the horns and the altars were all one piece, and they overlaid the altar with bronze. They made all its utensils of bronze, its pots, shovels, sprinkling bowls, meat, forks, and fire pans. They made a grating for the altar, a bronze network to under its ledge halfway up, and cast bronze rings to hold the poles for the 4 corners of bronze grating. They made all the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with bronze. They inserted the poles into the rings so they would be on the sides of the altar for carrying it. They made it hollow out of the boards. They made the bronze basin and its bronze stand from the mirrors of women who served at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Next, they made the courtyard. The south side was 100 cubits long and had curtains finely twisted linen and with silver hooks and bands on the posts. The north side was also 100 cubits long and 20 posts and 20 bronze bases and the silver hooks and bands on the posts. The west end was about 50 cubits wide and had curtains, 10 posts and 10 bases, with silver hooks, bands, and posts. The east and toward the sunrise was also 50 cubits wide. Curtains, 15 cubits long, were on one side of the entrance, with 3 posts and 3 bases, and curtains, 15 cubits long, were on the other side of the entrance to the courtyard, with 3 posts and 3 bases. All the curtains around the courtyard were finely twisted linen. The bases for the posts, bronze, hooks and bands and posts were silver. Their tops were overlaid with silver, so all the posts and courtyards had silver bands. The curtain for the entrance to the courtyard was of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, finely twisted linen, and the work of the embroiderer. It was 20 cubits long. It was 20 cubits long, and like the curtains of the courtyard, 5 cubits high, with 4 posts and 4 bronze bases. Their hooks and bands were silver. Their tops were overlaid with silver. All the tent pegs and tabernacle and surrounding courtyards were bronze. These are the amounts of materials used for the tabernacle of the testimony, which were recorded with Moses' command by the Levites on the direction of Itamar, son of Aaron, the priest. Bezalel, son of Uri, son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, made everything the Lord commanded. Oh, he was the son of Hur. Who knew that? Amen. With him was Oholiab, son of Ahishamach, of the tribe of Dan, a craftsman and designer and an embroiderer in blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and fine linen. The total amount of the gold from the wave of offering used for all the work of the sanctuary was 29 talents, 730 shekels, according to the sanctuary shekel. The silver obtained from those of the community who counted in the census was 100 talents, 1,775 shekels, according to the sanctuary shekel. 1 becca per person, that is, half a shekel, according to the sanctuary shekel, from everyone who had crossed over to those counted 20 years old or more, a total of 603,550 men. 100 talents of silver were used to cast the bases of the sanctuary for those curtains. 100 bases from the 100 talents, 1 talent for each base. They used 1,775 shekels to make the hooks for the posts, to overlay the top of the posts, and to make their bands. The bronze from the wave offering was 70 talents and 2,400 shekels. They used it to make basics for the entrance of the tent of meeting, the bronze altar with its bronze grating, all its utensils, the bases for the surrounding courtyard, those for the entrance, and all the tent pegs for the tabernacle, and those surrounding the courtyard. Whew. We can do this, guys. Whew. The priestly garments. From the blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, they made woven garments for ministering in the sanctuary. They also made sacred garments for Aaron, as the Lord commanded Moses. They made the ephod of gold, of blue and purple yarn, scarlet yarn, and finely twisted linen. They hammered out the thin sheets of gold, cut strands to be worked into blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and fine linen, the work of a skilled craftsman. They made shoulder pieces of the ephod, which were attached to 2 of its corners so it could be fastened. Its skillfully woven waistband was of one piece, with the ephod made with gold and with blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and it was finely twisted linen, as the Lord commanded Moses. They mounted onyx stones in gold filigree settings and engraved them like a seal with names of the sons of Israel. They fastened them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod and memorial stones for the sons of Israel, as the Lord commanded Moses. They fastened the breastpiece, the work of a skilled craftsman. They made like an ephod of gold and of blue, purple, scarlet yarn, and finely twisted linen. It was square, a span long and a span wide, and folded double. Then they mounted 4 rows of precious stones on it. It was the first row. There was a ruby, a topaz, and beryl. The second row, a turquoise, sapphire, emerald. In the third row, a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. In a row, jacinth and agate and amethyst. In the fourth row, chrysolite and onyx and jasper. They were mounted in gold filigree settings. There were 12 stones, one for each of the names of the sons of Israel, each engraved like a seal with the name of one of the 12 tribes. For the breastplate, they made braided chains of gold and pure gold like a rope. They made 2 gold filigree settings and 2 gold rings and fastened the rings to 2 of the corners of the breastpieces. They fastened the 2 gold chains to the rings at the corners of the breastpiece and the ends and the other ends of the chains to the 2 settings, attaching them to the shoulder pieces of the ephod at the front. They made 2 gold rings and attached them to the other 2 corners of the breastpiece and the inside edge of the ephod. Then they made 2 more gold rings and attached them to the bottom shoulder pieces on the front of the ephod, close to the seam just above the waistband of the ephod. They tied the rings of the breastpiece to the rings of the ephod with the blue cord, connecting it to the waistband so that the breastpiece would not swing out from the ephod as the Lord commanded. They made a robe of the ephod entirely out of blue cloth, the work of a weaver, with an opening in the center of the robe like an opening of a collar, and a band around the opening so that it would not tear. They made pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and finely twisted linen around the hem, and they made bells of pure gold, attached them around the hem between the pomegranates. The bell and the pomegranates are alternated around the hem of the robe to be worn for ministering, as the Lord commanded Moses. For Aaron and his sons, they made tunics of fine linen, the work of a weaver, and the turban of fine linen, the linen headbands, and the undergarments of finely twisted linen. The sash was of a finely twisted linen of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, the work of an embroiderer, as the Lord commanded Moses. They made the plate, the sacred diaphragm, out of pure gold and engraved it on it like an inscription on a seal, holy to the Lord. They fastened the blue cord to it, attached the turban as the Lord commanded Moses. So all the work on the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, was completed. The Israelites did everything just as the Lord commanded Moses. And they brought the tabernacle to Moses, the tent and all its furnishing, its clasps, frames, crossbars, posts, and bases, the covering of ram skins dyed red, covering of hides, seed cows, and shielding curtain, the ark of the testimony with the poles and the atonement cover, the table with all the articles and bread of presence, the pure gold lampstands with the rows of lamps, all its accessories, and the oil of the light, the gold altar, the anointing oil, the fragrant incense, the curtain of the entrance of the tent, the bronze altar with its bronze grating, its poles and all its utensils, the basins with its stands, the curtains in the courtyard with its posts and its bases, and the curtain for the entrance to the courtyard, the ropes, the tent pegs for the courtyard, all the furnishings of the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, and the woven garments for the ministering of the sanctuary, both the sacred garments for Aaron the priest, and the garments for his sons who were serving the priest. The Israelites had done all the work just as the Lord had commanded. And Moses inspected the work and saw that they had done it just as the Lord had commanded. So Moses blessed them. Last chapter, guys. So we're going to power through this. Setting up the tabernacle, chapter 40. Then the Lord said to Moses, set up the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, on the first day of the first month. Place the ark of the testimony in it and shield the ark with the curtain. Bring in the table, bring in the shield and the ark with the curtain. Bring in the table and set it out where it belongs on it. Then bring in the lampstand and set up the lamps. Place the gold altar of incense in front of the ark of the testimony and put the curtain at the entrance of the tabernacle. Place the altar of burnt offering in front of the entrance of the tabernacle, the tent of meeting. Place the basin between the tent of meeting and the altar. Put the water in it. Set up the courtyard around it and put the curtain entrance of the courtyard. Take an anointing oil and anoint the tabernacle and everything in it, and consecrate it and all its furnishing. It will be holy. And anoint the altar of burnt offerings and all its utensils, and consecrate the altar, and it will be most holy. Anoint the basin and the stand and the consecrated basin. Bring Aaron and his sons to the entrance of the tent of meeting and wash them in water. Then dress Aaron in the sacred garments, anoint him and consecrate him so that he may serve him as priest. Bring his son and dress them in tunics. Anoint them just as you anointed their father, so that they may serve me as priests. Anointing will be priesthood that will continue for all generations to come. Moses did everything just as the Lord commanded him. So the tabernacle was set up in the first day of the month in the second year. When Moses set up the tabernacle, he put up the bases in the place, erected the frames, inserted the crossbars, and set up the posts. Then he spread the tent over the tabernacle and put a covering over the tent as the Lord commanded him. He took the tablets of testimony and placed it on the ark, attached the poles on the ark, and put the atonement cover. Then he brought up the ark into the tabernacle and hung it, the shielding curtain and shielding the ark of the covenant, as the Lord commanded him. Moses placed the table, the tent meeting, on the north side of the tabernacle and outside the curtain, and set out the bread on it before the Lord, and the Lord commanded him. He placed the lampstand on the tent of meeting opposite the table on the south side of the tabernacle. He set up the lamps before the Lord. The Lord commanded him. As the Lord commanded him, Moses placed the gold altar in the tent of meeting in front of the curtain and burned fragrant incense on it, as the Lord commanded him. Then he put up the curtain at the entrance of the tabernacle. He set up the altar of burnt offering near the entrance of the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, and offered on it burnt offerings and grain offerings, as the Lord commanded him. He placed the basin between the tent of meeting and the altar and put water in it for washing. Moses and Aaron and his sons used it to wash their hands and feet. They washed whenever they entered the tent of meeting and approached the altar, as the Lord commanded Moses. And Moses set up the courtyard around the tabernacle and the altar and put up the curtain at the entrance of the courtyard. So Moses finished the work. The glory of the Lord. Then the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Moses could not enter the tent of meeting because the cloud had settled upon it, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. And the travels of the Israelites, whenever the cloud lifted above the tabernacle, they would set out. But if the cloud did not lift, they did not set out until the day it lifted. So the cloud of the Lord was over the tabernacle by day, and fire was in the cloud by night, in the sight of all the house of Israel during all their travels. This was the book of Exodus, and it is completed. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you guys go back and you just find little moments. You have the notes here in Exodus. I'm not necessarily reading fully for the content, but just to show you guys how powerful it is to read just full pieces of scripture. For anyone who wants to be able to give to me and post, you can find all of my giving platforms right here. The main one that we're going to be giving at is isaiahestevony.org. There you can find the $1 and a dream plan, which is essentially I'm just asking everyone to just give me $1 a day. It really would sustain me if just 67 people committed to doing that, to just giving me $1 a day. Now, I know a lot of people want to give me more, just get it out the way. Whether it's the 25 giving, which can take care of my daily needs, or something more significant like 67, which could take care of all the needs. So that's housing and that's bills and debt and all that good stuff. Will be covered with the $67 donations per day to cover a day. So you can see all of that stuff there. I really do hope you guys are having an amazing time. This is currently how much we have finished, and we do get the opportunity to update this live, guys, to fully update this. So we just finished the book of Exodus, which is the 5th biggest book. So we actually read less than Cash today, unfortunately. But tomorrow is really going to be great because we'll be covering, I believe, Leviticus, if I'm not mistaken, which should be a smaller. So we should really start cranking on these books, to be honest. Like, it should start to go a lot faster. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. I hope you guys enjoyed this Bible reading and found it well. This has been your boy. Again, feel free to give and really support the missions. But with that, I tell you guys bye. And I'll see you soon. Take care.